You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Back here on a Tuesday night live. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, D-Live, whatever that is.
Royal Rumble.
Rumble!
Oh man, I forgot my coffee.
Oh, it's not time for that yet. You got plenty of time to get it.
I know.
We're so glad to have him back. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, back from Honeymoon 2.0. Oh, yeah. And Mr.
Corel. Chip resistant.
Chip resistant Corel.
This resists your brother.
Hey.
He goes to get one of these plates and they say no.
Is that microchip resistant?
These are the.
Oh, it says brake and chip resistant.
These are the best plates you
I
can
guess
buy.
we just found out.
Yeah,
That was a good way to test it.
Corelware is. We've been through like 3 different sets of.
I
Is
think
it
it's-
China?
Yeah,
China.
Yeah,
That's correct.
So, but
China.
the
But this isn't
Corelware
made
that
in
we
China.
got for at our wedding
Yeah?
is still
Has it still
around,
held up?
and none of them have broken.
Nice.
Oh,
It
that's
says
good.
brake and chip resistant and made in the USA.
The
That's how
IKEA
you
stuff
know.
is broken, and the Bed Bath and Beyond
You
stuff
know,
is broken.
because that stuff's not made in the
but
USA.
not the Corelware.
It's
no.
the cheapest stuff you can get, too.
Yep.
You can get it anywhere, like Walmart, Target.
Oh, you get this at Walmart?
I think, well, maybe
You
that
need to
was
go
Target,
to the
I
outlet.
think.
If you go to the Corel
They have a
Ware
Corel
outlet,
outlet.
like at the outlet mall, the Tanger
I'm
outlet.
gonna have to go get me
yeah.
some Corel China.
And it's just plain.
Made
I
in
like
America.
timeless design. Look at that, just white, plain sauce.
Oh, yeah.
Ours,
No, I love
ours
this.
has got a little
I
blue
love
stripe
this.
in it.
Yep.
But you know,
I mean, I don't mind the
you
ones
can
that have like
you can
the,
literally drop this on a tile floor; it will not break.
like I like
Let's
the ones that
test
have
it.
blue rings. Yeah, that's just
didn't break.
I
See
did,
that?
I didn't
Telling
get it
you.
on camera.
God.
That's
Do it
okay.
again.
Just chuck
Well,
it
I
at
don't
somebody.
want to.
Then it'll actually
wanna
break.
test it.
It's like yeah.
There it is, beautiful.
It's like
Nah.
we keep beating it and then
No
it finally
way.
breaks.
Tested
No
right
way.
here on the Red Moon Podcast. Corel, we just
It's like
add.
it's like try to tear that.
Nah,
Can't do it.
can't. Name that movie. Name that
Napoleon
movie
Dynamite.
quote. Well, not you, our listeners.
Oh.
Well, you just gave it away.
No, I
It's all right.
didn't. I butchered it. I said Napoleon Dynamite. So they
Did-
don't know what that is.
Dynamite.
That could have been Black Dynamite.
Is that
so
where they're
many.
trying to tear a phone book or
Black
something?
Dynamite.
He's,
I sell drugs to the community. Man,
Such
so
a
many
good
great
movie.
movies.
Yes, he's trying to sell them on Tupperware,
Yeah.
and Kip gives it to the man, the husband, and he's like, "I can't do it." And then
Yeah, I
the
don't
next
remember that
scene
movie.
is Kip backing
I
over
thought
it.
it was Uncle Rico.
I'm sorry, Uncle
Yeah,
Rico.
yeah.
I'm Uncle Rico.
Man, he butchered
no,
it.
yeah, because Uncle Rico does that, and
Yeah.
then the next scene is Kip trying to prove it by selling it to a woman outside of her house, and he backs over it with his van, and it just shatters.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he
It's
just
so
drives
good.
away.
And he's like, "Dang it!"
Yes.
It's so good. Napoleon Dynamite's a
He said
classic.
I could throw a football clear over those mountains.
People may be wondering though why we even have these saucers. It's not just because we want to chuck them or test the Carrera.
Well, celebrating Halloween by making flying saucers.
Well, we really wanted to just get Corel as a sponsor.
Fire.
True.
So maybe this will do
If
it.
you'd like to sponsor the Red Moon Podcast,
Yeah.
we'll show your plates on here all the time.
Not busted.
Now it does
Nope.
say no stovetop or broiler.
We
which is
are
most
also
dishes.
made
Don't
in
put
the
them on your
USA,
stovetop.
so
Yeah,
we
we
have
are.
that in common.
That we are. No, we are testing.
American made.
My brother-in-law's nice, fine hot salsa. We got some Realms of Glory hot sauce, chili lime.
Is it sauce or salsa?
I mean, salsa is Spanish for sauce.
sau-
So either way,
It
it's
says on his
interchangeable.
label, Realms of Glory hot sauces. So I'm just gonna go
So
with the
it's
hot
sauce.
sauce.
Okay.
Sauce.
I thought it was chips and salsa that we were trying.
Well, I guess
Brandon doesn't
he
know
gave,
the
he
ignorant
he
gift.
let me
Gotcha.
try it with some chips.
So that's going to have vinegar
yeah,
in it,
yeah.
right?
I don't know what it is.
Maybe. Well, I mean, hot sauce
Hold on,
is
yeah,
all
yes,
hot
yes,
sauce has
yes,
vinegar
yes.
in it.
It has ingredients.
But it's not necessarily a vinegary flavor, right?
yeah.
You've had some of them.
yeah,
Does it taste
I
like
had
vinegar?
all of these.
He doesn't like vinegar. Does it
No.
taste like vinegar?
It doesn't.
It doesn't
Alright.
taste like Frank's
No.
Red Hot, right? Okay.
Okay.
I guess I didn't say yes.
I'm going to try it. I just
don't
might
know.
not. I might be upset
Well, the ingredients are vinegar.
if it tastes
Uh,
like vinegar.
Oh gosh, ancho.
Granada.
Ancho.
That's a type of pepper.
Grande. Ancho Grande.
Yeah. it's a
Lime.
pepper. Lime's good.
Oh gosh, I can't read.
You want
this
me to
tiny
read them
print.
for you? Oh, it's the tininess. Okay.
Yeah, I can't read the tiny. Cayenne, onion, salt, garlic, sugar, cloves, scorpion pepper. That's
sounds
the
good.
chili lime, which is my favorite. But these all have varying degrees. Medium, hot. That's it. I
Yeah.
did ask him because Keith, of course, is our resident.
I wanted the pain. Well, the ones
We've had the Death Nut Challenge on
Yeah.
here. We've
one's
done the Carolina
Reaper.
Reaper.
Yeah,
Reaper,
one's
yeah.
made with Carolina Reaper, so I am looking forward to that
Yeah.
one.
But the thing is you all love the hot stuff. I hate it. And none of these were so hot for me that they were unbearable. Now, one of them I haven't tried, and it is
That's the
hot.
Carolina Reaper one.
Yeah, the
right?
Flaming Luau.
Yeah.
Has
Okay.
the Carolina
I
Reaper
think you
in
need
it.
to try it. Or
you're gonna
you
try
tried
that
all,
tonight.
You tried all the others. I think you need to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's your
Maybe.
brother-in-law's, dude. You got to try it.
I did
Just
bring.
one
I did get a
taste.
saucer.
Just one taste.
I brought a saucer in here because I did like the chili lime, and I'm probably gonna have some of that. But
You need to try. The
I didn't
other
have any
one.
chips, so I just had some veggie straws that I have.
Traditionally, you do taste
here,
hot
let's-
sauces on
let's
a
pass the
tortilla.
veggie
so
straws
Your brother
around.
wasn't being weird there.
I'm gonna give you all these.
Well, I guess I'll just take 4 since there's 4 sauces.
Well, you can. Yeah, I mean, depends on how much sauce you want.
Oh, I'm gonna eat some sauce.
You can have as many veggie straws as you'd like.
We'll see.
So y'all empty those out. I guess should we? No, because we're gonna get the coffee during the review.
Yeah, no, we're good.
So I think we need
this
to try these
We
now.
have
Right.
2 reviews. Our Halloween.
You got your
and,
straws yet?
release.
Well, I've already tried them all, so I'm gonna.
Except the luau. You haven't tried that yet.
That's true.
I think you need to
maybe
pass
do
them
that.
around, maybe the same one. So whichever. Let's not do the hottest first.
Okay.
You should
Yeah,
go
yeah.
mildest to
Let's
hottest.
let's start with the pineapple.
There's 2 mediums.
Yeah, go mild to hot. That way, if it is real hot, it doesn't
There you go.
overpower the
Pineapple.
There we go.
Give it
Yeah,
a shake.
shake.
Give it a
Shake.
shake.
I'll shake
Give it
them
a
up.
shake up. Ooh man, it's got some thick pineapple stuff.
He
right
made the
there.
salsa or
Oh,
sauce.
you're
That right
sticking it in there.
I keep saying salsa.
Well, I was trying to move that pineapple pulp out of the way so I can get some sauce too.
It's good stuff.
Oh, there
I
we
ain't
go.
gonna lie.
Give me a little. Come on now.
All natural. I think he grew
There
these
we
from
go.
his garden.
He grew pineapples.
And onions and cloves. No, he
gonna
didn't. He
just go
got
ahead
some
and
stuff, and he
try
grew the
these both
peppers.
out.
The peppers are from his garden.
I'm gonna.
Some of the other ingredients maybe as well.
I like that. It is.
It's clogged up.
It is. That's that pineapple pulp I kept talking about.
Here, use
That's
a
why-
straw. Use a straw. I'm just
saying,
eating veggie straw.
I just shoved a straw in there. It's good. It's very pineapple-y. I mean, it's not hot, but it is not. That one's not supposed to be.
I'll try the flaming luau.
Well, you gotta try it when we try it.
No, because I haven't tried. This is the only one I haven't tried.
Okay.
All right,
like
I'll
that.
try it when you all try it. Hold on.
I like
Good
that one.
back. I like that.
I like that one.
We're used to doing hot stuff
It's,
on this show.
That's not hot at all. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I got to get the flaming luau here open.
I mean, it's good. But yeah, I didn't feel unless it's just the
that was a
unless
lot.
it was just
gosh.
the pulp that was keeping me from getting any heat. Hold
Okay,
on.
here you go.
No, it's not.
We're gonna give y'all the next flavor. What'd y'all think of it?
It tastes good.
It's good.
It's good. Pineapple
It's
flavor.
not- it's not hot,
that,
but it is
that was
good.
my least favorite. I didn't like the pineapple taste. I just thought
It's
the
real.
fruitiness.
It's too sweet to have with a lot of stuff.
That
Okay.
would be good with maybe
kinda
like if
feel-
you're making some type of like
a dessert kind of salsa, maybe.
No,
Like
I mean
with the-
like you could put like usually use like tropical fruits like that with fish or sometimes chicken, so you can kind of do something with that like with it.
the next medium.
Chef Keith over here.
That's the lime, the chili lime. This is
Okay.
my favorite.
This is Brandon's
Is this the
favorite.
second hottest?
Yes.
Did you shake it already? It looks like it's pretty.
I did.
mixed
I
up.
tried to shake it.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one came out
gosh.
good. That one came out real good. Let's see.
He sells these too, man. He's gotten. I haven't.
no, that one's good. And that one actually has more kick to it.
I
than
like the bite at the front end with the lime, but it doesn't last too long.
Well, the lime and the heat gives you that kick at the beginning, and then
Yep.
it fades. But that was definitely better than the pineapple for sure.
Oh yeah.
And it actually has a nice heat, like not bad. It's not hot,
right.
but the heat definitely came
here-
out more
here's
in this one. I
Here's
didn't.
the cap on that one.
I don't feel like I got any heat with the pineapple, and again, that may have been just because the pulp was clogging it.
in that one.
But they're
there's
both
a
listed
little-
as. Oh no, that one says mild, and this one says medium, so that makes sense. Okay,
Yep, there
so
you
this
go.
one is hotter. So
I
yeah,
like that one. Yeah.
yeah, that one was good. That one was really good.
Now this one goes up to hot. This one
Is that the habanero, smoky habanero?
No, smoky habanero. Yes. Yeah. This is not the hottest.
No, but that's okay.
But yeah, this is the next. Ooh.
Oh, Sean's over here licking it, man. That
Oh,
chili
he's
lime.
loving it. See, I
No,
am
the chili
too.
lime was good.
Good.
That's
You
good
got
stuff.
The cap. I'm going to give this another
job,
one.
Jeff.
This one seems to separate a little bit.
Yep.
I was going to give this
Oh,
another shake.
my bad. Here you go.
It,
There's a cap.
Yeah.
Shaky shake.
Jeff might be my buddy now.
I'm telling you,
I have to
he's
get
got
a
good-
website, Jeff?
he's building one right now. A guy that he doesn't even know. It was somebody of a friend who tried it, and he said, "Dude," he said, "I've tried a bunch of homemade salsa." He's like, "This stuff's great." He's like, "You got to get a website going. You got to get stuff," and he's got orders. Apparently,
That
like
one
he's
would-
been selling
yeah.
out of it. What
That
he's
one's
made.
good too.
But yeah, the chili lime is my favorite.
I like the smokiness of that. It don't feel like it's that much hotter than the chili lime.
Okay.
The habanero isn't
Yeah.
as hot as the other one.
Oh, really? Of the
No,
chili lime?
I don't think
oh,
it's
really?
got as much of a kick. No.
No.
Huh. That's interesting because
Yeah.
he rates that one as hot.
Yeah.
Maybe just with the pepper.
Well,
in it.
habanero normally would be, and I don't know why it's not.
Oh, that's good.
Good?
It's very good.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a nice smoky flavor.
I
Yeah.
love that Shot is digging
So
it.
the chili lime and the smoky habanero are both good.
Okay, are we
Both
ready
very
for?
good.
I'm gonna even try this one.
Might be also.
I've already got a little bit poured out,
This
but
is the one. Yes.
this is the Flamin' Luau. This has got the Carolina Reaper in it.
Yes.
So here you go.
Let's see what we
Do y'all
got.
need any more
I'm
chips?
still cleaning this one up right now.
Which one is that? What? Both
it's,
of
it's a
them?
mix of the
It's a
chili
mix of
lime.
all
It's a
of
mix
them
of them
now.
right now. Yeah.
All right, I'm first trying the Flamin' Luau.
The
Actually, I'll wait for Keith to tell me what
Why,
he
you
thinks.
scared?
Yeah, I'm scared. I hate hot crap. I hate it,
okay.
and I'm gonna be
come on.
suffering the rest of the show.
Come on out. This one's got
it
some
again.
pulp too. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with that. It just means there's actually natural flavors in there.
There you go. It's like, yeah, it just needs to be broken up a little bit more.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, he's about to pour it out. Hey, show it down there while you're pouring it.
Show it.
Oh, never mind.
Show it
It's
where.
kind of hard to.
Let's say on the camera.
Yeah, I don't want to like spill it on your table. There we go. Get me. Come on. Out.
Just get it on your plate.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say I got a good amount poured out over here.
Well, I don't want to waste. I don't want to waste.
Oh, there's
but I
no
mean, there's
waste.
plenty of straws. I'll eat it. So
That's how I am, dude.
All right.
Get
When
it.
once
just
you
have to
all
get some
give me
more.
your verdict, I'll try it. If it's hot or not.
Ooh, that's good. Ooh, that one's real good.
Like it? Okay.
I mean, it's sweet like the pineapple, like the luau, but it has a better flavor.
Okay.
It is the hottest, but I don't think it's. I think you'll be able to. I think you'll be okay. Like,
I think
don't
it'll be okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I don't
he-
think it's
and,
too
and
hot.
I was gonna say, I clarify. When Keith,
It's
I originally
building.
told him
It does
build-
build.
it's
I will say
building.
that it does build.
right.
Yeah.
It's the hottest and
this
it
is
does
gonna kill
build, but
me.
it's not.
I'm a pansy.
Yeah, it builds. Oh God.
I like the sweet and tangy.
Yeah. Let's say the sweetness is better than the pineapple.
Just wait a minute.
It does build though.
Yeah, it builds.
I should
There's
not have done
Brandon.
this.
There's Brandon.
builds
I
up
knew
good.
it.
I should not have done this.
I mean, the initial kick isn't that bad,
No.
but it does build.
Oh yeah.
I need some more of them veggie
Once it
straws.
gets on the back of your tongue.
I got to finish this.
Oh my god. Just don't rub your eye.
Don't rub your eye. Man, this is so good. Jeff,
I'm okay.
compliments. I liked all of them.
Where's the chili lime? That's what I need. I need that. I need that.
He's like,
chili.
give me some of
I
that
agree, though, that the pineapple is my least favorite.
the chili lime.
I like all of them.
I do like all of them. Like I'm not knocking the pineapple.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was just my least favorite.
Yeah, that Reaper one was getting me.
Man, it's so good.
Maybe it's because I didn't have a whole lot. It's got the tip of my tongue right now.
No,
You need to coat. Yeah,
get
coat
it back in your throat.
Coat it.
Nope.
Oh
Nope.
yeah. Oh, he'll be choking. I can see that.
I want the chili lime.
That capsaicin, man. Whew, it's good.
Where's the veggie straws?
You don't get none.
I think now.
I think we should go to the review
we should.
while we
All right,
shove
we're
our
gonna
faces.
we're gonna shove our faces.
Get some coffee.
Yep. If you want any coffee. All right, here we go, guys. Here's our review of first up, Black Adam. Enjoy.
Yeah. After years of hype and amongst the chaos of a merger, Warner Brothers, DC, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have delivered to audiences Black Adam. Long promised by The Rock as the new launching point for the DCEU, DC's cinematic universe begun by Zack Snyder, the DC film franchise has been a mess to say the least. With the misfires more common than hits, Warner Brothers' new owners and The Rock himself have promised a clear direction moving forward. Does Black Adam deliver on pleasing fans and audiences as promised, while setting up for a brighter future from DC? Directed by Jaime Colette Serra, who previously directed The Rock in Disney's The Jungle Cruise, Black Adam reunites the two as The Rock plays the titular character born in the fictional country of WaKhandaq, a blend of Muslim and ancient Egyptian culture. WaKhandaq was once ruled by a tyrannical king. Selected as their champion of the time, the Council of Wizards bestow the powers of Shazam upon Black Adam, who uses them to depose the king. becoming entombed in the process. Present-day WaKhandaq is controlled by Intergang, a terrorist militia occupying the country. While looking for an artifact once created by the ancient king, a crown that can be used to unlock demonic power, a team of archaeologists release Black Adam from his tomb in an attempt to stop the militia from claiming said crown. Black Adam, initially reluctant to help, chooses to oppose Intergang, dealing out his own view of justice. Originally created as a villain in DC Comics, Black Adam was formed into an anti-hero through the years. The film chooses to jump straight into this rendition of the character, making him less outright villain and all anti-hero. While Black Adam's plot and characters are more or less par for the course for the overabundant comic book films out there, it does offer tons of entertainment and some hope for the DCEU. The Rock, if nothing else, is a professional entertainer who has his ear to the ground on what audiences want. Love it or hate it, Black Adam will please mass audiences, evoking Snyder's darker and grittier take on heroes while balancing it with mostly well-done humor. Colette Serra and The Rock maintain Black Adam as feeling organic to the Snyderverse while steering DC into new directions, weaving in plot threads and cameos from both Justice League-related characters and the Suicide Squad. In one film, Black Adam unites parts of the DCEU that have felt mostly disjointed until now. Likewise, the film raises serious questions about the nature of heroes and the role they play around the world. While it does not go too in-depth on these themes, the nature of an anti-hero and the morals that limit others are refreshing for a blockbuster comic book film. The Rock, as always, delivers a highly entertaining performance, with Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate also being a standout. The movie's plot is fairly straightforward, though I have a few gripes in how it builds. With a rocky start, the movie finds its footing in the middle only to lose it again at the end. With certain elements delivered at face value, such as Dr. Fate or the Justice Society's jet rising from the ground of a wealthy estate a la X-Men, some may accuse certain details of the film as ripping off Marvel, and could probably have used some fleshing out to make them feel more unique. Ultimately, Black Adam is not a bad way to course correct. It still could use some touching up, but despite some concerns that The Rock's ego would interfere with being faithful to the comics, he and director Colette Serra deliver a film that's relatively faithful to the comics while introducing unfamiliar characters and elements to a wider audience. With an after-credits scene that teases a larger DC universe to come, it's easy to see why audiences love the movie. I give Black Adam 2.5 out of 4 stars.
I'm still eating over here.
That's okay. I can't even figure out how to get my headset back on.
I'm gonna say it's good, but that habanero, I mixed the chili
Yeah, I got
lime.
a bit of a runny nose and the sweat along my brow, so definitely some good heat there.
Yep.
Getting ready for winter.
Good flavor.
This hot coffee's not helping. It's not helping. Woo.
No, it makes it worse.
Yeah, it does. All right, that was stupid. I don't know why I got
I
coffee.
mean, he can compete with hands down with B-Dub's hot sauces, like in flavor and heat, because some of B-Dub's just don't have flavor.
And
These
I think
all have
I've
flavor.
said this 1,000 times. I gotta say it again. His goal was to go for taste and flavor.
Yeah,
above
first.
heat. I asked him because I was like, they love hot. What's the hottest? And he gave me the habanero one. He said that's his hottest. He said
I don't
no,
think
it's-
it was.
No,
The-
no,
Flamin' Luau's the hottest.
the hottest.
The
Okay.
Carolina
Oh, yeah.
Reaper with the Flaming Luau is definitely the hottest.
Was the Carolina Reaper the Flamin' Luau?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. But it's funny because
That one was good.
he even said, he was like, it's not going to be the hottest thing they've ever had. He's like, because I go for flavor. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's cool.
No, I respect that because, I mean, I like hot stuff, but a lot of times,
It's easy to do hot and not taste good.
the hot's
That's
fun
the
when you're
easy
doing
thing to do.
challenges and stuff, but if you're actually eating stuff and it's not fun to just like have a meal where like your tongue's on fire and you have no flavor. So that's
Now-
kind of why I go for the mango habanero at B-Dubs, because it's heat and flavor.
Well, and it should let everybody know that I was able to eat all 4. So
I'm
it's not that
impressed.
hot.
Like honestly, the build up on the luau one,
I'm telling you.
I really thought like that would get you worse. Like I am impressed.
No,
You're coming along.
Never,
You're coming
nothing's
along.
ever got me worse than devil spit. That stuff was terrible, and that was
that
a
stuff was
drop.
great.
It was awful.
It's great.
And not even milk. A
I
glass
think it was
of milk.
Devil's Blood. Actually, is what
Maybe
it was
that's
called.
what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
All
like
I know
Famous
is
Dave's has a sauce called Devil Spit.
Yes, that's Famous Dave's.
And it's
oh,
not-
it's
yeah.
no, it wasn't that. This was
And it's
Devil's
not hot.
Blood. Then.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Yeah.
And I was sitting there sipping on milk and nothing was helping. My
Yeah,
breath was
I got him
taken.
good.
Yeah, it was
I
terrible.
put it on my food and I was eating. It's like, oh, this is good. And he's like, oh yeah. It's like, yeah, it's
I'll
not
try
that bad.
some.
He tried it.
Now that kind of sauce right there, that I don't taste the vinegar. Normal hot sauce is just very vinegary.
It depends on it.
That is not that way at all, and I would gladly like put that on some wings and eat it.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
that
Oh,
is
that's
fantastic.
the thing. I'd love to coat some chicken in that.
Yes.
Oh man, put it in some chili. I'd put some of that
Yes.
hot.
The smoky habanero would be good in
Yeah.
the chili.
Yes. Yep. But all right.
Sold.
You know what else is hot?
Yeah, Jeff.
The Rock and Black Adam is
Hey,
smoking.
I want to give a shout out to Jeff and say if he's selling, I'll buy.
Hey, there you go. You got some new customers, Jeff.
We
right
got
here
some,
on the show.
We got some YouTube
Uh-oh.
comments here.
Yeah.
Says, good evening, fellas. I don't plan on seeing Black Adam. It's pointless. Thank you for your service, though.
Well, hey, hopefully maybe us talking about it will convince you
here's the
it's
thing.
not a terrible movie.
I thought it would be pointless as well, and I was pleasantly surprised that while I'm not going to say it's great by any means. I gave it 2.5, but I was pleasantly surprised that it was not as pointless as I thought it would be.
Same.
So
Same.
So
He does say that there is some hope for...
DC.
I do now have faith and hope for DC with the news today.
Oh.
Is that the
Must
Red
be
Moon?
James
Red,
Gunn.
Red Moon
We're,
news?
we're talking about it.
We're gonna
Okay.
get there,
James
yeah.
Gunn is
Yeah.
now the chief
Co-CEO,
creative. Well, I say co-CEO, but he's
Yeah.
chief creative, whereas the executive producer is
Yeah.
Peter Safran. We're going to get into that a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
in our headlines.
Let's get into it later.
Yep. We're going to talk about that after
Let's
we
get into something else.
What? What is that?
We got another review, don't we?
Well, we got to talk about Black Adam first. We haven't
I
talked
don't want to talk
it.
about Black Adam.
You didn't like
No,
it?
I loved it, actually. I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Just a little bit.
I mean, yeah, because I do want to give it props. I mean, for the longest time, I honestly just thought that the Rock's ego at this point had gotten overblown. I mean, everybody talks about he has in his contracts he's not allowed to lose fights. That's why every fight he has in Fast and the Furious ends in a draw. And I was literally thinking, it's like, how is he going to play this character if he won't allow himself to lose or be beaten? And I actually watching the movie felt like, okay, I think the ego is just the showmanship because The Rock that's what he is.
Yes.
He's a showman,
An
and he
entertainer.
knows how
Yes.
to entertain, and he has his ear to the ground on what audiences want. So I think a lot of what I was perceiving as ego was him just selling the movie. And because when you watch the movie, I was like, oh, they actually are adhering a little bit more to the comics than I thought they were going to based on how he was acting. And it did give me hope that when they get to, they've been teasing, The Rock's been teasing, we're going to have a showdown with Superman. And I really thought that's going to be a mistake and a misstep to go straight from Black Adam to that. But I don't think they're going to butcher it now. Like I was afraid. I mean, I'm still not convinced they'll get it right.
We've seen small steps with the DC universe, and we knew Black Adam, again, something else that The Rock was touting before this movie dropped, was, okay, is this an unofficial rehash? We knew The Flash was supposed to be...
It's kind of supposed to be kind of a resetting of
reboot.
Things with them doing Flashpoint.
Kind of like introducing the multiverse.
Yes, I'm assuming they're going to keep certain aspects and then like go fresh with others with the Flash.
But we were also confirmed right after this dropped this weekend that no, this is the official beginning of what is deemed the new DC era.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the news that dropped today with James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over as co-CEO.
The official, bit of a spoiler alert, but it is now officially all over the web that Henry Cavill will be back
Returns
as
as Superman.
for
Another big
multiple
headline.
projects.
Multiple,
Yeah.
And I mean, I do think, given the right writers and direction, he is a perfect choice. I never thought he was at fault for Superman's portrayal.
yeah.
We've
as much
talked
as,
about it on the show before about countless times of... I may be in the minority here. I was not a fan of Batfleck, but most everyone other
a lot of
character
people
I
do
was.
love, Batman.
Not Ezra Miller. I've never been a fan of his.
All right, honestly-
even under the current allegations, even before that.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman.
Was fine.
Henry
Jason
Cavill was Superman, and Jason
Momoa's been
Momoa
great
is
as
Aquaman.
I don't think the cast is, other than Ezra Miller, I do think he was miscast. But everyone else, I thought the cast was fine. And seeing this, I mentioned it in my review, I like how there are certain characters and elements from the Justice League movies and the Suicide Squad, because everything's supposed to be connected. But when you watch the Suicide Squad movies, there's really not, other than them mentioning Batman or Superman or Batman having the cameo in the first one.
They don't really correlate.
They don't connect very well. And I liked how this one kind of, not a lot, because the focus is, of course, on Black Adam, but having some of these other plot lines where you see both of those franchises kind of come together in this movie, I appreciated that, because it's like, okay, now it does look like they have a clear direction. Here's two franchises that have been kind of disjointed that are now united by Black Adam.
Yeah.
Agreed. Sean, what about you?
I agree with the 2.5. I was gonna go higher. I had some gripes. They're kind of like minor gripes. A lot of them were, I felt like they were just plot based. there was some bad dialogue in this movie, but
Agreed.
the movie it did well what it was supposed to do. It's a superhero movie. It's an anti-hero movie. I thought The Rock nailed it. I actually did doubt that he would be able to really pull off a decent superhero or anti-hero. Unlike Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool, I felt like there's no way he's going to be able to do that because he is too much of an entertainer and less of an actor. But he actually, I mean, I felt like he did a really good job. I felt like there was just so many other people around him in this movie that did not do a great job.
It was almost like they didn't take it seriously. Or, not, I don't want to say that. Okay, I'm sorry. Pierce Brosnan's phoning it in. He's older. He's got to follow. He's fine. I don't think he's terrible, but I don't think it was exceptional.
I thought his was the only other role that I felt was a standout was him as Dr. Fate, because he just felt very much like the character from the comics.
And that's
to me.
fine. I just didn't think it was anything spectacular. The one that I thought was the weakest, truth be told, were two. And I'm forgetting their names. Hawkman. Is that one?
Yeah,
Hawkman. I thought he was a little bit lackluster, and it had nothing to do.
Adam Smasher
was not
I
good.
thought him and Cyclone, like they could have cut them out
Cyclone
entirely.
was useless.
Both of them were. I liked the romance they were somewhat trying to build. They just, for a movie where you introduce a team of characters like that, you kind of do need some kind of, not an origin story,
But a backstory.
of some.
I have issues with that.
They weren't on screen enough to make them relevant,
Yeah.
but they also weren't, the chemistry wasn't there between them that made you think, oh, there was a few scenes. Again, I told Keith, I said the beginning and the very end, not the very end, towards the end, like the final fight, were the weakest parts of the film.
Yeah.
The very middle was when it hit its stride and it kept going all the way up until the climax of the main baddie coming in.
I think the movie...
And that was where it kind of, it's just weird how it had this influx throughout.
Yes.
And it peaked in the middle where I was like, oh, it's finally getting there. Maybe this is the rest of the movie is going to be just as spectacular. And then it kind of trailed and got to the way it was in the beginning.
I think,
towards the end.
it did lose a little focus, and I think the movie would have been better served, like if you had taken out Adam Smasher and Cyclone and only focused on like the other two members of the JSA. They had a lot of characters with little backstory because I think they kind of had too many being introduced, whereas they could have taken a few out and focused more on the other characters that were prominent and had a little bit more focus on how they were doing things. Just like you said, the fight towards the end, like, yes, Sabaki is a character from, spoiler alert, I guess, if you didn't know he was in the movie, I apologize. He is a character from DC Comics, but the way he's portrayed, because he's really just a fodder villain. It's like he's here to be, the fight at the end, and then we'll do away with him. And that's fine, but then it just comes off as very, I mentioned some parts being like feeling like an early 2000s superhero movie where it's just like, you have no reason to really care. He comes out, he's this big demon dude, and he gets beaten, that's it.
Well, he doesn't even really give much of a fight.
Yeah, it's he does against the Justice Society, but when Black Adam comes around, it's like, no. Yeah, nothing. So I felt
We've seen that before, though, too, if you look at the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
You have Steppenwolf and Dark, or no, it's mainly Steppenwolf, right? That
they allude to Darkseid.
Yeah. But
Darkseid never shows
up. He kicks the crap out of everybody until the end when Superman shows up and destroys him.
But see, that I think is fitting because that's why you keep Superman away for half the movie, and then when he shows up, it's Superman. He's supposed to be.
They did the same thing with Black Adam, but it was too quick.
It was
because it's the same movie, and it's not a 4-hour Snyder cut.
Yes.
But ultimately, I will say, I was thorough. I think maybe too, so much of my enjoyment did come from not expecting much out of this film, which is again a credit to it, but also a credit to the fact that it did exceed my expectations.
Yeah, mine too.
And and with so many misses in the DCU, and not looking for, and plus with the downturn that Marvel's had, which we've secret on this show been talking about and griping about. But ultimately, it's nice to kind of see again something from the DC universe hit and land in such a way that. I think is going to maybe, possibly, especially with, again, the news that broke today, give DC
hoping it has
the
a
boost it
turnaround.
needs.
I'm kind of interested in what our viewer thinks. I see a few extra. Has he been responding to anything that we've...
Mostly let's see, gonna see Black Adam, just not in theaters.
Okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's actually
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just
I think it's
mostly
worth
agreeing
seeing.
with us on the news
the
that we're going
gripes.
to talk about
Okay.
later. But
Okay.
yeah,
But
I
it's
just,
also
I always like to know differing views than
yeah.
my own.
Well, and I wonder if they're a fan of the DCU. Are you happy with what they've done so far? Because we've praised them in terms of Shazam, Aquaman,
I like
Wonder
Shazam,
Woman.
yeah.
You know,
the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
We gotta
well, I was going
the
to
first
say,
Wonder Woman,
but
not the
then
sequel.
they ruin things with this with regard to, I hate to say it, but you had Wonder Woman 84 that was a bomb. There was one other thing too. Was it the Suicide Squad's
James
DC?
Gunn's Suicide Squad got
I didn't
great.
like that.
I didn't care
We-
for
we
it
it was
either.
okay. It wasn't.
But
no.
I mean, it got a lot of critics loved it and audiences loved it. We just didn't.
And that's the
we
funny
just didn't
thing.
love
That's
it.
we're gonna bring it up
But
in
it was
headlines.
much better than David Goyer's
Oh, no doubt.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Or-
But
is it
even-
David
even-
Goyer?
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But even Goyer has even come out and said after the Snyder Cut dropped that he wanted his cut.
His version, if he could have get his cut, would have been better.
That's what he's saying.
Supposedly.
We can't really count it out. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't
You're
know.
right. I don't know.
And we knew that was going to be a problem with the Snyder Cut. But
Yeah.
I will say, I'm eating my own words here because I remember saying when the Snyder Cut came out that this was going to open up the floodgates for not only someone like Goyer, but people were going to rally back behind Snyder. And thankfully, no. The Snyder Cut served
I
as
don't
almost
believe
a
it's Goyer. I think I just missed.
David S. Goyer?
No, David S. Goyer's a writer, but I don't think that's who directed the Suicide Squad.
Ayers.
David Ayers.
It's David
Thank you.
Ayers.
Yeah.
My bad.
I knew David Goyer's
it's
a
Ayers.
writer, but you're right. Thank you.
But ultimately, David Ayers, it's opening up the door for someone like that to come in.
Yeah.
But no, the Snyder Cut really did serve as a definitive end to, I think, the Snyderverse. They
Yeah.
gave him a bow, a little bow
They
and a
said,
wrap
here's
up on
here's your
his.
crap, be done.
Yeah,
Right.
but at the same time, though, they are keeping several elements from the Snyderverse, including
true.
the characters and their actors, but not just that, the storyline. And that's something that I appreciate. I did not want them
To do a
there's-
just
there's
complete
no way
reboot.
you can
Yeah.
just do a reboot this early on. If it was 20 years ago, yes. But with it being this early, you're going to have to keep some of those elements and work with them and add something and make it
Well,
better.
especially when you factor in things like what No Way Home did and tying
Oh,
in
yeah.
both
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield's
Sony's
Spider-Man
Spider-Man,
and Tobey Maguire's that did it so well. But even still, I think Black Adam serves as because here's the one thing that I think is telling and why I also liked it, and that simply is it's not woke. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think you have that discrepancy in score between your critics who you've seen bomb it. And I've loved seeing tweets come out and just rail against critics saying, so when fans come out and actually criticize something, it's review bombing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you all do it, then it's we're supposed to take you all
Yeah.
at your word and we're just shrills. And I just think it's funny because what we're seeing, especially with this Black Adam and it being praised so heavily from fans, is you actually did give us an enjoyable, entertaining ride. And it was nothing more than we expected, but it also wasn't anything less.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is all I ask for from superhero films. I'm tired of getting wrapped up in the monstrosity of connecting a plethora of storylines that make no sense. I mean, and I think it's funny because we may have a disagreement here, because actually I do want to get into some of the criticisms of why we gave it 2.5 and not even higher if we enjoyed it as much as we did. So I kind of like to open the floor up in that regard as to what were some of your all's gripes.
I mean, for me, the pacing was definitely one where the beginning and end and were rocky. How they introduced certain elements as just a matter of fact, like not giving backstory to some of the characters or just throwing them in there. I was like, here, these are the characters. But then at face value, when you look at Dr. Fate, a lot of people are going to compare him to Dr. Strange. Dr. Fate was created before Dr. Strange by DC, but most people don't know Dr. Fate. They know Dr. Strange. So when you throw him on screen and you don't do anything unique with him and he looks like a copy of Dr. Strange, everybody's...
Hawkman looks like a copy of Falcon.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
or I mentioned the jet rising up out of the yard and the mansion. I'm like, everybody's going to associate that with X-Men.
Yeah.
And yes, some of these elements predate those characters at Marvel, but
Truthfully, if you do not know the difference between Marvel and DC, you would think this is connected.
You would. And a lot of I think there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, they're just copying Marvel. And they're not really, but because you didn't do anything unique with the property and visually it looks just like a scene in X-Men when the jet's coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you supposed to think?
And I felt that way with some of the humorous bits.
Yes.
They didn't land quite as nicely as as well finessed with Marvel. And look, we've seen and we've griped about recent Marvel movies such as Thor: Love and Thunder where they depend on it way too much, and Waititi gets carried away. Because I'll be the first to admit, it's like, no, I had my fill in Thor: Love and Thunder, and even before that. But on the moments where Marvel knows they want something to land, they do it in such a better way. And you could tell them trying to eke that out with the big character who drives the van in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Her brother. Is that her
Yeah.
brother? I can't remember his name.
I don't remember it
But
either.
they
It's not
try to
important.
tie in a little story beat with him and him being comedic relief. Same with Smasher. They try to throw in some comedic relief there. It doesn't land quite as well. But again, that goes back to kind of poor writing on the script part.
Yeah.
And that was where the weakest part of the film really came home.
definitely,
It's
I think,
just
the writing,
the
yeah.
writing was just not as tightened up. But it did interestingly add some story beats that I thought were done well, but just I would have liked to have seen expanded. And one of those was kind of introducing this, hey, we're in turmoil, and look at this nation state we have that is going, awry because we have people coming in and trying to take over. Why weren't you all here before? Where were you all until today?
Yeah.
Why are you all just now showing up? Oh, because Black Adam, this threat
And
to the
I
rest of the
actually like
world
that they do mention
shows up.
that. That is one gripe with Marvel when it's like when crap goes down and one superhero's fighting and it's like, well, where are everybody else at? Like, why aren't they helping? So I do kind of like it's like, well, we've been occupied by this terrorist militia for years and you all didn't care until someone else more powerful showed up and then you were like, oh, we better check into that. And I kind of think that's a fair gripe. I mean, I did like that they addressed that. Universal issues like that I think are interesting in comic book stories like Civil War. It's when they try to get into the more
The real ramifications.
The
They make it more grounded.
Oh yeah, and that's fine. But I'm talking when they start to go more micro issues and get into the woke stuff about we're going to narrow in on this one issue that's
Global
not
warming
that's
or whatever.
that really
It's like always
doesn't
something
affect
like that.
like
Yeah.
I like it when you make something that everybody can relate to because it's a universal problem. I mentioned that's one thing I loved about the X-Men and like their representation of kind of civil rights is they didn't get into specifics on a certain group. It was a mass representation that everyone could relate to no matter what group you're with. And I just hate that now, like, the politics get into play in everything where we have to focus on this one set thing that could be represented easier in a way that everybody can relate to, but we're going to narrow it down to this one item that only a group of people can relate to.
Yeah.
Sean, what about you? Some gripes?
The biggest gripe that I had with the movie, again, I agree with the pacing part, and there were plot issues like people showing up that they were miles away a minute ago. Now they just showed up at the right time, and there's issues like that kind of just the minor stuff that bothered me. But the big thing that really bothered me was there were the two relationship issues, and one was between Atom Smasher and Cyclone. I'm like, come on, like you're trying to create this romance and you gave it no time.
Yeah.
But then the other issue that I had was the bromance between Hawkeye and Dr. Fate. And I'm like, you try to make me feel bad that one of these characters is going to die.
You don't know.
And I don't know where they've been, what they've done together, what fights they've fought together. I don't know any of that stuff to make me feel an emotional connection to these two guys and their relationship. And so I had a really big problem with that because I'm like, not only did you just thrust a group of people that I've never heard of, like I said to Keith over next door, I like the Justice League characters, the main characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. I don't know any of the other ones. So when they throw these people in there and expect me to know who they are, that was jarring on its own, where Marvel introduces every single character, to the Avengers. They're
part
all
of the problem
introduced.
they've been running into recently is the fact that they haven't. They've been throwing in side characters that we don't know, but that's been part of the issue.
Let's stick with the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
That
True.
era of
Oh,
Marvel
absolutely.
was amazing.
Absolutely.
And they did a good job of not shoehorning characters in that I have no idea who they are.
Well, and it's been long in the tooth, but since this phase of Marvel, what they've done is now take, I think, known celebrities to be, look, they're joining the Marvel universe. But they've literally used
I've
them
heard
to
Harrison
introduce.
Ford is joining the Marvel universe.
He's
I
supposed
know.
to be
Yep.
replacing William Hurt as Thunderbolt
Yeah.
Ross. Yeah.
Well, he can't do Indiana anymore. He's
A really good question on here.
Yeah, go ahead.
About with Henry Cavill coming back as Superman, he asks, what kind of tone do you think they're going to have in the next Superman movie? Are they going to try to go with? I like the examples: 50s cartoon era, 70s Super Friends era, or the 90s.
Oh,
or
different
do you
eras, yeah.
think that they will continue the Zack Snyder Superman, where it's kind of dark. And
I don't think they'll go as dark and brooding.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
fans haven't been responsive to that.
Well, it
version
hasn't
of Super-
played well.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think they'll be campy like Super Friends or anything like that. But I do hope, like, Superman is supposed to be a symbol of hope, and he is supposed to be a more optimistic character. I mean, he's called the Big Blue Boy Scout for a reason. So, and yeah, I get that. You know, if you get too campy in Boy Scout, then he's no longer believable because he's just this. Oh shucks, leave it to Beaver. You don't want that either. I agree, that's a little outdated.
Well, we don't want Batman with Pam, pow.
Yeah. So I get that. You don't want Superman to be that cliched, but at the same time, you don't want a Superman who hates himself. Like I always felt
Yeah.
like Zack
Yeah.
Snyder's Superman
it was
just,
very depressing.
Yeah, he was just like,
It's like, man, it must suck to be the most powerful person in
It's
the
like,
world.
how is he a symbol of hope when
So
like
much
when
weight
he's constantly
on his
Yeah.
shoulders.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping. I don't think they will go back to the dark, brooding Superman,
Well,
but I'm hoping, you know.
Truth be told, and when our viewer does check out Black Adam, even when it comes out on demand, I think you'll get a good sense of the direction they're going. And honestly, if you've watched Shazam or you've watched Wonder Woman, granted, Shazam's a more lighthearted, funny character.
Yeah.
They're definitely going that direction with the second
But that's
one.
a great example. Is that they are now more willing to be lighthearted because
Right.
they have characters like Shazam.
And honestly, since we've ixnayed Zack Snyder, the one benefit has been not that we're going to go full Marvel and goofy, because now we've seen where it bites them in the tail of going too far. But even Marvel, even in the Infinity Saga, kept it lighthearted during serious moments, or they'd have a serious moment and they'd make a lighthearted jab to lighten it up.
Yeah.
But there's also
But their
times
serious
where
moments were serious.
and they
though.
let
Agreed.
them sink
That
in
was,
before
yes,
they like
exactly.
before telling the punchline.
Yes, they didn't
and
just
this
ruin
one
it.
missed the mark in terms of having that weighty seriousness to the point where the threat was really severe. I enjoyed The Rock's, again, emotional telling throughout the movie. I thought he did a good job. I actually liked the way the origin story played out. That was another gripe I had, was just ultimately the beginning starts with kind of a kid who's infatuated with the, Kahndaq. What is it?
Kahndaq, yeah.
Kahndaq and their origin of this country from the very get-go.
WaKhandaq Forever.
Wakanda.
Again, and granted, Kahndaq is a DC, like that is in DC Comics, but again, if you don't make it stand out on its own, people are going to compare it
It
to something
sounds like
else.
a direct,
Yeah.
it sounds like you're just carbon copying with different names. But I really did think
They
that
both had a. I'm sorry, but it just hit me. They both have a
that
an element, a material that their country is mined
I
for.
thought, as soon as I was watching that, I was like,
Eternium
man, you guys,
and
vibranium.
vibranium.
unobtainium.
No,
We're going to get that in
that's why I made
December.
the comparison. Again,
Yeah.
it's like if you don't do enough to stand out, and it just seemed a little bit too Wakanda-ish at the very
Yeah.
beginning of this movie when they're mining for
Yes.
Eternium, and I'm just like,
But the thing is you also mix it up by doing something completely different than we've seen in either Marvel or
Yes.
DC. Give us a storyboarded animated version of what hieroglyphics on a cave wall or something with a nice, like I didn't mind the kid's voicing it over, but it sounded too, which part of this was the sound of AMC theaters, which was abysmal.
Yeah, it was bad.
Where we went,
Wow.
we
where
didn't
I
see
went.
it in IMAX.
I did.
But
was
should have seen it
glorious.
in IMAX. But I will say, they could have done something unique to set the tone for this film being different and being a new launching point for the DCU. And again, that's just one area where they dropped the ball. And I just would like to see DC kind of get a little bit more creative, which we're going to talk about in our headlines when we talk about James Gunn and maybe his takeover of the DCU.
And I think that's actually an indicator of the tone they're going to take too, because you don't hire James Gunn to have a dark, brooding, serious
true.
tone.
But we know he can pull off both.
He could pull off
with
serious,
Guardians of the
but
Galaxy.
he doesn't have to be
Yeah.
the Zack Snyder.
Yep.
Yep.
But we also see where he can maybe get a little too Taika
Sometimes.
Waititi as well.
If you too
Untamed.
much free reign can be a bad thing. Yes,
As with any creator. I say that as a creator.
George Lucas.
Alrighty, guys. I think we're ready to move on to our Halloween review. We went a little long with Black Adam,
Yeah.
but it's a big popular one on the block this week. #1 at the box office.
Number uno.
Let's talk about now our last final Halloween review. Here is, yes, we're continuing with Halloween franchises. This is a new one from this year. We reviewed X just a couple of weeks ago. Now we're reviewing Pearl.
Which is available to rent or buy on digital
Today. All right, here it is. Here's our review.
Happy Halloween.
It's been quite the season, with so many iconic franchises seeing reinvention, reboots, and sequels, alongside a bevy of new horror films. This year actually seemed to offer more good than bad. We end our Halloween reviews this year with the prequel to X. While the franchise only began this year, X already delivered a pleasant yet disturbing surprise. Pearl, which releases for rent and purchase on digital storefronts today, was filmed in secret back-to-back with X. Having released theatrically in September, the movie from director Ty West has garnered even more praise than its predecessor. From a script written by West and lead actress Mia Goth, who plays the titular Pearl, the film takes place in 1918, in the throes of the First World War and the Spanish flu. Pearl, whose husband Howard has gone off to war, is stuck at home on her family's farm. Unable to leave to pursue greater dreams and ambitions, she is trapped by her duty to her family, taking care of her father, who is paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair, unable to eat, clean, or do anything for himself. Pearl assists her mother in his care and attending the farm. Captivated by the movies shown at their local theater, and informed by her sister-in-law Misty of an audition being held for a traveling dance troupe, Pearl is emboldened to audition and leave her life behind, even if she must take drastic measures to do so. Director Ty West, who introduced the character in X, perfectly fleshes out Pearl's backstory, adding even more depth to the already unique and disturbing killer. The motivations and pathos introduced in X pay off with Pearl, elevating the narrative of X even after the fact. In this way, Pearl acts as a proper prequel, adding to the established canon and narrative, fleshing out ideas without conflicting with what has already been established. Pearl isn't just a good prequel, though. Even as a standalone horror film, it stands out. One does not have to have seen X at all to understand or enjoy the film, and Pearl's journey from simple farm girl to sociopath is captivating and horrific, whether you are meeting her for the first time in this movie or aware of her from X. Part of this is solely due to Mia Goth's performance as the character. Having played the elderly Pearl with the aid of prosthetics and makeup in X, Goth returns as the younger version, delivering a terrifying performance of a person always on the precipice of insanity. Having performed as both Maxine and the elderly Pearl in X, her performance as a younger Pearl builds believably into the character we see in X, and stands out as a completely unique character from Maxine. At no point did I feel distracted by the fact that Goth is the central character in both films, as her performance perfectly cements the characters as being distinct. Pearl is a fascinating story that builds upon tension and delivers horror even more effectively than its predecessor. While X was meant to pay homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the disturbing kills and gore are a part of its effect. Pearl, while equally grisly, feels more focused with the kills, offering even more depth to the narrative than simply being disturbing for the sake of being disturbing. Likewise, the quaintness of the time period and setting evoke a blend of The Wizard of Oz descending into the pulp horror. Pearl is a fun film that establishes the X franchise as a unique horror experience. Let's hope Ty West can cap the whole thing off when he finishes the sequel, Maxine. I give Pearl 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Wow. 3.5 out of 4 stars
did.
for Pearl.
I went high on that one. Well, I felt
like
I went low on X because I just, there were things about it that I was just not fully sold on, and then this movie sold me on itself and X. Because, I mean, honestly, I think you could watch this movie by itself without watching X at all, and it serves like it's a self-contained story that works well perfectly by itself.
I think both do.
But then I feel like X is a little bit better because of this movie. So I'm like, I gave it the half star I didn't give X, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I did
More
really,
than that.
really enjoy.
Because you gave 2.5.
That's what I'm saying. Because
you-
if I gave this the half star, because that would give X a 3 if I gave it another half star.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple math.
There
Yeah,
it is.
simple
Simple
math.
math. I don't know math.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like they both would have been at 3, but I gave this one the half star that I refused X. So there you go.
I'm actually settling on 3.
Yeah. Fair.
I thought about giving it the extra half star, but it's one that I enjoyed. Really liked it throughout. Thoroughly entertaining. I do think Mia Goth deserves an Oscar nod for this. There's one scene in particular with a drawn-out monologue where she just, I mean,
Oh man.
no camera cuts.
The scene of her at the table with
it's
her
like a
sister-in-law,
straight
8
8-minute cut of just her talking, and I
And
swear
she's just batshit crazy.
it's and,
It's the
and
only
she-
way you can put it. Yeah.
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 And that's what I loved about this movie. I loved that there are things it alludes to being, I guess, her craziness being thrust upon her, but not really. It just
Yeah.
shows you that she's freaking nuts.
Yeah. And that's where I
Which
thought
I
they were.
liked.
Yeah, I thought they were going to try to go that route. Like
Same.
we talked about it next door. I thought they were going to try to blame her crazy on everybody else.
Right.
Because that's what we do nowadays.
Yep.
And I really thought
Sad
that's
but
where
true.
it was going to go. But
they
I
didn't,
really appreciated that it didn't go that way, that it just leaves the accountability with her and that she's just nuts. And that was... And I hated X. I did not like that movie at all. I liked parts of that movie for certain reasons.
Yeah, I want
But
to
parts, yeah, I liked parts of that movie, like body parts. But
Lots
that
of that in
movie
there.
was so messed up and disturbing. If it had not been for this movie, that movie just makes it no sense to me at all.
Okay.
This movie, if I would have seen this first and then watched X, I might have enjoyed X
little bit
more.
more.
Yeah, I'm kind of I hate that this is a prequel and not just the first movie, and then they made X, and then.
Well, now you can watch them in order and maybe be more.
Maybe it'll be better.
For
but,
me, I really want to see how he ends it with Maxine.
Same.
Hopefully, ends
Yeah.
it. Hopefully, this isn't a drawn out franchise
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so
yeah.
many horror movies are. But hopefully, yeah, Maxine's the capper, and I'd like to see how this trilogy plays out. And if well done, I think it could be a very solid horror trilogy.
Agreed.
Better than the Halloween one we just got.
Oh
So.
God, yes. yeah.
not worth it at all.
It ended.
No.
It
Well,
ended.
yeah, thank God. But no, I would agree. 3 out of 4 for me, just because I look forward to seeing Maxine. I'm much more intrigued. I did enjoy this one more than X. To me, I like his blend of just picking different styles and genres that
Yeah.
kind of he brings together under the horror umbrella. You know, the way he told the story with the Wizard of Oz type feel
Yeah,
of,
this
of
being
whimsical.
1918, X being the 70s, and
Right.
then Maxine, the teaser they had for that is in the 80s, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And the teaser did have a very...
He's
I don't know if you can look it
taking-
up online if you haven't seen it, but it's like it starts out like an old VHS tape recording, and it's really well done. With the, so all of his period pieces, I think, are very
And that's what I'm saying.
nice.
He takes these tropes from those eras and blends them into the horror genre, but in so much that they're not just tropes that are relying on, oh, I recognize this, or oh, this is nostalgic for this purpose. No, it actually does add to the story, and it just conveniently shows his love for those classic tropes, but also how he can weave them into a new, trilogy that I think will be something, again, if Maxine knocks it out of the park, a very solid horror trilogy that I could see some people saying is probably a favorite of theirs that they would watch every year. I probably won't
I'll watch
partake.
this again.
I'll definitely watch it
Pearl.
again. I
I'll
probably won't watch it
next
every year.
Not every year, but there's very few I watch every year.
Yeah.
Halloween is
Yeah,
up there.
I watch the original Halloween every year.
Right. I have to do that. I actually just watched a good one last night that I hadn't seen in forever.
Yeah,
Silver
but
Bullet.
see, it's not an every year
Investigation!
Oh God.
This whole investigation is about as sufficient as a submarine with screen doors.
That's not my favorite quote. Private Justice is my favorite.
Private justice? You want to talk about private justice? Why don't you go out to Harmony Hill and dig up what's left of my boy Brady and talk to him about private justice?
That's the one.
Would you want to do that? Sorry, I had to.
The would you want to how you deliver the would you want to do that is always is what I love
Yes.
about it.
It's
Yeah.
just
His voice peaks.
He does.
Yeah,
it
it's
always
nice.
peaks when he does it.
I have to get. I don't even know who that actor is, but he inspired me. Okay, great movie, Gary Busey.
Oh
Classic.
man.
Feel like a virgin on prom night.
And
He's like, I don't
Corey
get
Haim.
Corey Haim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, great movie.
God rest his soul.
Alrighty,
But
guys.
fun Halloweens this year.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been really
Highest rated of this year. 3.5 out of 4 stars for Pearl.
Well, I mean, I'm not even just this movie specifically. I mean, there were a few duds along the way, but I really felt like this year has been one of the better years of movies we've seen. I mean, because
Well,
we like Barbarian,
and
Smile.
Smile, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it, it's like the ones we chose to review were specifically franchise. But if you take apart, take that out of the factor and you put in all the other films that released that were horror for this year, really good year. Solid year for horror releases.
It's just it was actually the older franchise films like Hocus Pocus and Halloween that were
gosh.
disappointing.
The monsters.
The monsters,
Yes.
the newer movies were all good. The ones that were callbacks to classic franchises were all
Yeah.
so.
Sad but true. All right, I think we're ready to move on to our headlines. Finally, let's get into it.
Game's gone.
All right, let's talk about some headlines. Let's talk
I
about
like it. Let's
the
do it.
breaking news that happened just a few hours ago. That's right. James Gunn, Peter Safran, I think I'm saying his name right.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Oh, whoops. Held up the wrong. I put up Henry Cavill. That is correct. We're going to talk about that.
Henry Cavill's nice. I like Henry Cavill.
But yeah, let's
He's
talk
a sexy
about
man.
them becoming the new heads of the DC.
Not Henry Cavill. Saffron and Gunn.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's talk
Saffron and
about it.
Gunn. I like it. Sounds like a law firm.
I know. Saffron and Gunn. Running DC. Hey, maybe that's good. You have a nice strong name running your show.
They're just going to create their
Been
own.
making bad movies. Call Saffron and Gunn.
It is.
We'll turn it around.
Before I get into the whole idea of this, I think it's kind of funny and to me that James Gunn only got involved with DC because he was originally fired by
know.
Disney and Marvel.
And Marvel, yeah.
And I mean, granted, they brought him back after they realized, well, maybe we did something wrong here because that was years ago and he really didn't do anything wrong.
That's okay.
Like-
That's my first question out of the gate. What does this do for Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Well, he's already
It's
already
done.
done.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I guess they're just. Is he still going to promote it? Is he
Yeah.
still going to go on the press junket
Yeah.
and tout
He's
it?
allowed to do
Yeah,
all
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
know why he
Okay.
I mean, it comes out next year. I think they have the holiday special that comes out at the end of
It
this
does.
year. Yeah.
Comes out in December.
And then the movie comes out next year because they said the holiday special will act as like a prequel to that. But yeah, I think he already said after Guardians 3 he was done with Marvel, which is fair. He's been with them for a little while. He's given them some solid movies. And I think, he just loves DC as well. I mean, he's just a nerd all around. And I kind of am intrigued to see, with him being the chief creative officer, like where DC goes, because he is somebody that I think has the knowledge of the comic books the way Kevin Feige knows Marvel. And you need someone who's that big of a nerd that loves the comics. But you also need somebody that doesn't stand in their own way. And I'm beginning to think Kevin Feige is starting to push others.
Do you think that's maybe why they announced this as a partnership? Whereas Peter Safran's going to take over kind of the executive idea, whereas Gunn's the chief creative.
I think that's part of the partnership is because one, Gunn is first and foremost a director, and he's not someone who has ran a company like that before, but he is creative. He does know the comics, so I think he's someone they know they can rely on to steer them in a direction that's faithful to DC Comics, and that's what I'm most interested in.
Let me ask y'all this though, then too, because I think we were all critical on the show of it. At least I know I was.
Of Suicide Squad?
Yeah. So with that being the case and not being a huge fan of it and feeling like they dropped the ball, but having and not having seen Guardians 3 and where he comes through with that, but even Guardians 2 was not as good as the first one.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of still in a little bit of
I'm not
like
all
I have been
praise
with,
for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I know Marvel's on the downturn, and I've been again critical of that for the last several months. But can Gunn bring about not only the DC kind of resurrection they need, but is his direction going to be something that's worthwhile and give Marvel a run for its money? Because we know that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's the reason they put him in charge.
They want somebody that has like a unifying vision like Feige. And for me, I don't think James Gunn is a bad pick, but again, I think just with all creatives, like even Kevin Feige now, I think is becoming this unchecked source that's just now doing whatever and it's not working. As long as there's enough people to, and it's kind of sketchy because you're bringing James Gunn in as kind of the expert, so. And the fact that the people running the show haven't known what to do, it's hard to trust that they can keep him in check when he needs it. Because I do think you will need that. You definitely, not every random idea is gold. And when you start getting into, well, audiences thought this was funny, so let's double down on it, like Taika Waititi and Love and Thunder, which was awful. It's definitely, I think for me, something that I'm on the fence about because I do think he has excellent knowledge of the material and can do it justice. But if he goes too far with the comedic bit, then we're right back where Marvel is. And you have the opposite problem with DC where it was too dark and brooding and now it's too goofy. So we won't know yet until we see more movies.
I agree with that a little bit, although I don't know if I still am, but I am one of the only ones out of this group that has watched Peacemaker. Mm-hmm. And
he did do Peacemaker, yeah.
Phenomenal job with making a good story-driven show, but also having that just crazy off-the-wall comedy. Mm-hmm. And I think he tried to do that with Suicide Squad and maybe failed a little bit. It was definitely better than David Ayer's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I'm more worried about DC going the same route that Marvel has gone and gone head first into with the wokeness. And DC up until this point, and I think even we mentioned it, Black Adam was not that way at all.
Right.
And I feel like even the Snyderverse was not as much. So
I can't- yeah,
I'm thinking though, because James Gunn is a victim of cancel culture and a victim of some of those things, that maybe he will be less likely to allow that to seep in or push to the forefront. So I'm hopeful for that. But it's definitely a worry. It's like, are you gonna end up taking, DC down the same route? I don't want a woke Superman.
Same.
I don't want a woke Batman.
Well, I think too with Gunn, I'm hopeful. Same I think we're all using the word hope.
Yeah.
It's all we have.
Hey, we got Cavill back. we got Cavill back. So there's
right.
we got
True,
hope,
true.
Superman.
But I do think with Gunn, and what I'm hopeful of is that maybe he kind of is able to take a step back if he's not the director, or again what we've prided Feige on up through the Infinity Saga at least was his ability to kind of keep a grander vision in focus, while the individual artists who came in to do specific individual movies had their own toolbox that they added to their creative vision to the MCU.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, with Gunn having been through both wheelhouses, he's worked with Feige.
Yeah.
He kind of knows how the shops run over there. He knows how the sausage is made. He also has been on the forefront of making these movies and being in the director chair. I really hope he's able to kind of step back now, take that more creative, visionary role in from a 30,000 foot view, and maybe in that way bring forth his experience and saying, I'm going to let some of these other fresher eyes come in, but also because I do know the material, that's where my focus is going to be. And with regard to the woke stuff, I agree. I hope that he maintains this idea of, we're going to be faithful to the material. We all know there's material out there,
Story
regardless.
first.
Yeah, exactly. Story first. There's obviously going to be material out there, especially in this day and age, where you're going to have those subject pieces of subject matter come up. But if it's not full frontal in your face and trying to just wave this pride flag of look how diverse and
if
great
it's not
we
putting
are.
it to the story, it doesn't need to be there.
Thank you.
Exactly.
I do want to extrapolate a little bit on what you were saying about like him having been involved with Marvel, because he has had a very small amount of experience as far as like consulting creatively, because he was a consultant on Infinity War and Endgame regarding the Guardians. The Russos did bring him in to help direct and kind of guide them with those characters, because that was kind of a blend of that comedy with the Avengers coming together and how to do that seamlessly, and it was perfect. So I do think he is willing to work with others, because he didn't go in and basically tell the Russos, no, you can't do this or that, but he did say, this is how this character would act, or this is how this character would behave, and they worked together in order to create the scenes with the Guardians that felt organic to Avengers and the Guardians movies. And I do think, even though that's a very small case of what he's going to do, at least he does have an idea of, okay, I can creatively guide this, but I don't have to have my hand on everything and say, no, this has to be made this way, this has to be made that way. It's more about keeping it cohesive than controlling everything.
Well, one of the things that Kevin Feige has done well from that 30,000 foot view is he's taken, maybe given chances to directors in some of these films, and then when it wasn't the best, he course corrected.
Yeah.
And I feel like that definitely with the Russo brothers, stepping from Joss Whedon to the Russo brothers was huge. Joss Whedon's Avengers movie still has a place in my heart, but it's not the best.
The first Avengers was
the first
amazing in my opinion. But
you liked Joss Whedon's Avengers film?
The first
Avengers?
The first one?
The first one's fantastic.
I thought it was
that
too,
was one of the
That was
too
amazing. to me.
campy, too funny.
no,
I thought it was a
second one
blend of bringing everything
Yeah.
together and just like
Yeah.
a great
I don't know.
culmination
Wow,
of that
I didn't
first
know
To
you-
me,
phase.
I
I
didn't know
wouldn't
that.
call Whedon a misstep, because they gave him the second one. It was after that when he said, no, I'm done. But I think with Russo, but I do agree, because the Russos didn't do the first Captain America. What's his name that did October Sky? That director.
Oh gosh, and I'm blanking.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't-
great movie.
It's
I'm
Joe
totally-
something, but I can't think of his
Joe
last
Turtletop.
name. Yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't. And I do think I agree, because look at the Thor movies. Like the first and second one had different directors, and they got rid of both of them until they found Waititi
was
with the
Kenneth
third.
Branagh
who
He
did
did Branagh
those.
did the
He did
first.
one
he didn't do
movie
the
good,
second.
but-
The somebody from Game of Thrones did the second. I don't remember who, but it was a turd too.
Yeah,
But then they
Dark
found
World was
Taika
terrible.
Waititi, and they bring back what works until it doesn't, because Taika Waititi didn't work this time.
I was just gonna say,
we'll
I
see.
hope that with this new team that they'll be able to do just that.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, we can find, like, I mean, look at, I can't believe they gave Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins.
Yeah, like it's like,
Well,
she should be done. I hope
Well,
that
she
if they
knocked it out
do
of the
make
park the
another
first time,
time,
so-
yes, but it's like after
Well,
the
they
second
had-
movie, come on.
they have to rein them in, but I think that's the other thing too is we've seen where the real trouble I think with Marvel was as soon as they started launching all the Disney Plus series. I think you have the problem right now of Marvel being so too far wide and too
Joe Johnston.
Joe Johnston.
That's what I got
that
from
is
from
him.
our YouTube
no,
watcher.
that is
Okay.
him. That is him.
But it's like you have it's a mile wide and an inch deep with Marvel right now. They have way too much content, way too much going on, too many threads that are not tied up or even tied together. And look, DC's been in such disarray for so long. To see again positive films like Wonder Woman or Shazam or Aquaman or Black Adam, the hope in and really I think the the audience is behind wanting to see successful DC movies against the backdrop of MCU. We've seen now what the unfettered power of Kevin Feige and Disney and the MCU brings, and it's just more of the same. And almost to the extent that it starts to reflect poorly on the content of the comics, to where they just use things for a social agenda message like we get with She-Hulk, where it's just terrible writing and a big F you to the fans.
Yeah.
And then you also piggyback that on top of lukewarm series of, oh, you don't really develop this character, but we use it for this big reveal to bring in this other character that you can get excited about. And there's just constant upping the next, to go from one hype to the next without ever really having a payoff. We didn't get that with the Infinity Saga. We had the payoff. With this phase and with all of what's going on at Marvel, it's now in disarray, and it's now losing steam quickly. And I think Kevin Feige's in the hot seat because he's been the man in charge.
Yeah.
And again, with all the praise comes all the criticism when that happens. And now with James Gunn stepping in the seat, he's got nothing but a trajectory of moving forward and really taking the DCEU
Agreed. Yeah.
in such a forefront that we can actually look forward to it and what it's going to become. But time will tell.
I will say, I mean, there are, like I said, I didn't think Suicide Squad was the best, but I've never seen a James Gunn movie I hated. There are ones that I like more than others, but I will say generally all of his movies are at least entertaining. So I am very hopeful because I do like James Gunn.
And that's the thing, though. Without him being in the director's chair, it will be a question of can he have the secret sauce that Feige has had, and is that going to be where his strength lies? Or is his strength truly in the director's chair and not in the, mega producer, creative visionary
We're
field?
gonna find out. We may
That's
find
true,
out
yeah.
that he's even better in that position than as director, which could be cool. I mean, we don't know.
But
We
as
don't know.
as a director and a creative, if he's overseeing some of that stuff, he may be, over the shoulder too much of whoever.
That's true. That,
Because we know, Snyder talked about Warner Brothers being over his shoulder every second, and that
I
was
think
the
they've
whole.
learned their lesson, though.
I hope so.
Because again,
I don't want to
failure,
have another 4-hour cut of
Actually,
somebody's movie to
here's the
prove
thing.
that
with
they
the,
needed to step out of the way.
The new people in charge, I think, do know that lesson because The Rock, for the long, after the fact, now that everything's released, because he's talked about with getting Henry Cavill back.
Yes, yeah.
The old guard would not. They denied him constantly, and he actually went over their heads after the merger. And the new people were like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Yeah. So I think you now have. I mean, and I don't blame The Rock. I know people will be like, "Well, it's kind of dirty." He went over their heads, but it's like, I think again, he knows what audiences want, and the people in charge of DC obviously don't.
Well,
I think it was a
the
frustration
agent
thing.
of both Cavill and The Rock.
Yes.
Who was able to kind of use their relationship together to be like kind of. They were both on board, and it was like, well, if they're both on board, why wouldn't they be?
Yeah,
so,
and the people in charge kept saying, no, we don't want to. They really just had no desire to bring Henry Cavill back until Zaslav and the Discovery people were like, hey.
The old term in show business, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Superman coming back. I mean, it's a fan favorite. Everybody's happy to see Cavill return. And to have his support and his willingness to be like, no, I'm embracing this, and I want to be there for the fans. Thank you all.
Yeah.
After... I know you haven't seen it. I don't want to spoil it, but there is a cheap Superman cameo in Shazam, but you never see his face. They show the body down.
Okay.
And
you haven't seen that?
Well, I have
Yeah.
in pieces.
Oh.
yeah, but it's
Not
okay.
but it's one of those things like that really pissed me off because Henry Cavill said he wanted to do that cameo, but that was the point where DC was kind of like, we don't know if we want to follow Snyder and we don't know if we want to bring him back, so they wouldn't allow that director to let Cavill do the cameo. It was just a body double because they didn't know who would be playing
They
Superman
did the same thing in Black Adam.
Yes, they did.
Before they released it, they filmed a version with an actor that was a no-name.
Shadowy figure.
Figure.
I haven't seen all of Peacemaker. I did see, I spoiled it, but there is a Justice League scene.
Yes.
And they did the same thing in that. Only I think Aquaman and Gal Gadot were... No, she wasn't even there. It was him and Ezra Miller, was it? I don't remember.
I hope it's not. Gosh.
It's definitely Jason Momoa.
Yes.
I don't know.
But they didn't show all of them.
I can't remember
They kept
who.
some of them in the shadows.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is dumb. Because they, again...
it's up in the air. Yeah, they can't do it. They knew they were making an Aquaman too, so they could do that.
So seeing him back was so I just felt so much better that it's like, okay, here's this person everybody wants to work with because they know he can be a great Superman if given the right direction in writing. And I mean, he's Henry Cavill's a huge nerd in and of himself. I mean, everything he's involved with, he's been a fan of.
Well, how much of this do you think them bringing Cavill back, and also, like you said, even alluding to Aquaman because they had an Aquaman 2 scheduled, and how much of this is, as time has gone on and they've been so hell-bent on saying, no, after the Snyderverse, we're doing a reboot. We here on the show, me definitely, have been all about just doing a 100% reboot. But as time's gone on, we did get Wonder Woman. We did get Shazam. We did get Aquaman. We did get Black Adam.
Yeah.
They've, we had some misses in there. Suicide Squad.
I was saying, technically, Suicide Squad was a hit.
It was.
And Peacemaker's been a huge hit.
Right.
So,
but I'm saying, with the positive buzz surrounding these characters and still almost kind of catching wind of people saying, well, we don't hate the actors you've chosen. We just hate how they were used.
Yeah.
Has it been smart for Warner Brothers and DC and maybe under this new leadership? Because really after Snyder, and I forget the guy's name, I'm kind of mad that I want to give him credit. He just left 2 weeks ago or last week, which is why James Gunn and Peter Safran are...
I know Walter Hamada was...
That's it.
Yeah, he was in charge for the longest
time. He
time.
was the one that was put in charge right after Snyder exited.
He was one of the people that
kept
vetoing Cavill, and The Rock kind of went over his head. But here's the thing.
But my thing is with them kind of getting a breath of life, fresh air, and a breath of life put into, this... Mm-hmm. Is it them kind of now doubling down on okay, we're going in a different direction, but we're going to use the same castmates because we know people know them as these characters.
Yeah.
It keeps us from having to start from scratch, but we are clearly going in a different direction. Mm-hmm. Is that a positive thing?
No, I think it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, for me, it definitely is because I'm not a basher of the Snyderverse. I digged certain elements of it. I didn't dig the way he used some of the characters, especially like you mentioned, the brooding, dark Superman. That was kind of a disappointment because Batman
should be dark and broody.
Batman should be, and I'm also one of those people that think Ben Affleck could still do a good Batman. I liked him.
You just don't like Ben Affleck at all.
I think he was used very poorly. No, yeah, I don't like him as a person. But I thought he did. I don't know. I liked some of the elements of the Snyderverse, and I think by them keeping these characters and keeping the actors that play them, I do think they will keep elements of that story moving forward. I think they will correct things and nudge things in a different direction, but I don't see them making a Man of Steel 2 or another Superman film where he doesn't in some way speak of or correlate to the Snyderverse.
I think the movies that happen, they're going to say still happen.
I think they've cemented that they're done. We're got to keep them.
I like the course correction idea because the cast isn't really the problem, and there are a lot of things fans did like about the Snyderverse, and I think that's what they're trying to do is say, okay, let's take the elements the cast the fans like, and such as members of the cast, and we'll keep the elements that the fans like, but then we're going to go into a direction that is more unified, has actual central focus, we hope, and carry on from there. And I mean, I will give Hamada a little bit of credit. I know everybody hates Walter Hamada because they think he ruined the DC verse. I think him being steadfast on just rebooting Snyderverse wasn't a terrible idea in of itself because he knew it was a failure.
We all wanted it.
Yeah.
No,
There
look,
was a time when I wanted it.
everybody wanted it
Yeah.
before the Snyder Cut came out, and even those who were railing against or railing to want the Snyder Cut were fans of Snyder himself.
Well, that's my.
But people wanted the reboot because we saw the trash that we were getting.
Yes.
Or we saw the management that was going down, whether Snyder was involved or not, with Warner Brothers at the helm, with the DCU. It was nowhere near what Marvel was.
And I think that's just my point is a lot of people are vilifying Walter Hamada now, and I don't think that's entirely fair just because he didn't want to continue the Snyderverse. Now people are like, see, he was wrong all along. And I think it's a lot of Snyder fans like, see, he was wrong all along. It's like, I don't think so. I just don't think the direction he wanted to go was right either.
Those darn Snyder
Yeah,
fans.
yes. So,
they want, don't
so
they?
it's one of those things where it's like, I think he was wrong in what he wanted to do too, because it was still disjointed. But I think part of that was also him having to fight to reboot when other people were like, no, let's not.
Well, and also I think he kind of was taking on the ire of fans and trying to be like, no, we're gonna get it back on track. I think it was coming from a fan's like perspective and wanting the love of the franchise to show through all of the business crap and all of the.
Well, fans don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
No.
They only see the product, and when the product's not good, you know,
Right, they react.
You have to blame somebody, and because Walter Hamada was the name, he's the one that's going to get the like Kevin Feige. And granted, some of that is deserved, definitely on Kevin Feige's part. It is deserved, like you said. With the praise comes also the criticism. So,
which I don't know. I'm looking forward to it so far with Black Adam again. Like we've said so many times with DC, only to be completely punched in the face like a few months later. The momentum is there. The positivity is there with regards to where it's headed.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
Now they just got to deliver. And we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And I'm going to give, because I know we have Aquaman 2 and The Flash coming up, and I'm going to actually give them till after those movies a chance, because those movies were still in production before this new direction.
True.
So I'm not going to be too critical, because I still don't believe in The Flash being any good. But it's one of those things where it's like, look, I know they're sticking with
I
it.
think that's one
if
that
it comes
should
out,
be
and it's
scrapped.
yeah. If it's terrible, whatever. But I'm waiting to see what comes with the newer.
Well,
movies.
here's the thing. They said it was their best movie.
And
that was prior to Black Adam coming out.
Fan rate. They said that people like they've shown screenings and everybody seems to like it so far. So we'll see.
It's funny
The Flash.
because
Yeah.
And with that kind of buzz, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, we were definitely touting Black Adam as going to be a flop or a failure in that regard, and we ate our own words.
That's true.
We'll see.
You know?
Flashpoint storyline is a really great comic book story. I think it's too early to tell that, but it is a good way to kind of reset some things. So we'll
All
see
right.
how they do.
I wanted to talk about our other headline, but we don't have time. We got to move on to our unique weekly segment because it's a big one.
Big one.
Let's move into our multimedia.
Oh,
Multimedia.
Multimedia. The alarms are going off.
oh boy.
just
Let's talk about it,
sometimes
guys.
you got to interrupt those.
The
It's always you.
ending.
I'm not, that's
You're the
sometimes
only one that interrupts
I said
stuff around
sometimes
here.
I have to interrupt it. I
God.
didn't say you all. If you all start interrupting things, I'll get pissed.
Rings of Power and House of the Dragon has ended. We talked about Rings
They
of the
both
Power
ended.
ending 2 weeks ago.
The Rings of Power?
Whatever it is.
Is it
He said
Cares.
Rings of the Power.
Rings of the Power.
I like
Did I
that
say
better.
that?
Yeah, I
Oh,
like
well,
that
I'm
better.
not paying
The
attention.
Rings of Power.
No,
I have
it's
the power.
Now that both have
Rings
ended,
of the Power.
let's talk about them. Which did we like better?
I mean,
I like
you want a
Rings of
30-second
Power, guys.
conversation? Because that's all this is going to be.
I honestly, I like Rings of Power. It was really well done. I like how the characters are like you read the books and you're like, oh man, this is cool. But then you watch the show and you're like, oh wow, this
They do the characters better.
yeah,
They know a lot better.
Oh, wow.
They're so good. Like
You
when
sound just like everybody who likes that show.
yes, when it said the Southlands and magically changed to Mordor, I thought, oh my gosh, I did not know it was Mordor until it. I needed
Would have
it.
never figured that
I
out.
needed them to spell it out on screen, literally. They literally needed to spell it out on screen so I would know.
Yeah.
No, Rings of Power was awful.
It's trash.
Garbage.
It really is trash.
Garbage. I was thank God it ended, and it ended before House of the Dragon because that was the only thing that kept
That's
me
so funny.
enthralled.
It
this
started
fall.
after, ended before, and now it's been completely eclipsed by it.
Yeah.
It's like all.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Nobody's talking about
Yeah.
Rings of Power.
Yeah.
It literally took a week.
Well, they
not
are.
even a week for it to die.
It's just memes and
Well, no.
the
The only people
funny
talking about
tweets.
it are the ones in the news talking about how Amazon knows behind the scenes how bad it
Oh
was.
yeah, I did read
How-
that they're shelving the showrunners. Hopefully, it's a rumor, but I'm like,
The rumor is
how
that
do you not after that?
the rumors that they will still be around in the writers' room, but they won't be the showrunners.
you gotta
They're
be
looking
nice
for
about
more
it.
experience. Yeah, exactly. yeah.
They're looking for more experience. I hope so. You should have looked for
Who
experience.
shot them in the back of the head out in the parking lot? Oh my gosh!
But that's what I'm saying. But my thing is, you should have looked for serious, for seasoned showrunners when you first started. It's Lord of the Rings. You don't hire newbies and spend $1 billion on a property
What?
to hire somebody who's never worked on a show before.
What
I mean, they worked on
idiot
shows, but they
business?
weren't showrunners or writers. So
What idiot multi-billion-dollar business spends $1 billion on an entertainment franchise?
and you hire
Yeah.
all
amateurs.
rookies. Yeah, all rookies.
Yeah.
Like, would you not think, oh, we're playing the World Series. We need to put our A team in there.
You know who they hired for House of the Dragons? People who actually had worked on Game of Thrones before. Wow, that's smart.
I went Saturday or Sunday after church. I went hiking with some guys from church, and we're sitting there. We're two of us were talking about Rings of Power.
Rings of the Power.
And
Rings
yeah,
of the
Rings
Power.
You remind me of the voodoo. Hoodoo?
And that's exactly the point that he made. He says they hired a bunch of 20-somethings who thought they could write better than Tolkien.
Yeah.
And he says you don't
hubris.
hand something written by a master
Yeah.
to be done by an apprentice or a novice. And it's like that's exactly how this show feels.
They thought-
Somebody knew what Lord of the Rings looked like. They knew what the landscape looked like. They knew what the costumes looked like. They didn't know what the hair looked like, but they knew. But they took those props and said, we're going to make a fantasy
The only
thing.
reason it even looked that good was because they ripped off Jackson.
Yes.
Well, that's true.
And they spent
Yeah.
billions of dollars to rip it off.
$200 million
You know,
a
and he didn't
season.
need that much money for his.
They thought they had the high ground. And they didn't.
I just, it's like someone, like there's a patient that needs brain surgery and they went and got the orderly to do it. It's like, oh, this will be okay.
Yeah.
I just,
But they still charged the amount that the surgeon would charge.
they just lobotomized it completely.
Yeah, no, it was.
so.
It's terrible.
So here's the thing. Without ripping it completely, well,
We already
ripped it
did
apart. Without going in the broad scope, let's get into the details of, because obviously if you haven't, spoiler alert, because we're probably going to go through.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch Rings of Power, but
Don't
watch
watch
House
Rings
of
of
the
Power.
Dragon.
Watch House. Yes, definitely.
But spoiler alert
that
there.
finale.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Do they not know how to freaking build anticipation? And again, the festering of a civil war this entire season, but to show the brilliance of just
Brilliant
characters
culmination
coming together.
of it, yeah.
Yep. And oh my gosh.
Because we were talking about this next door too. I told Sean, because both of them really are similarly made in that the Second Age, there's not a lot of information on Middle Earth regarding that. You have the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales, but it is a small book. And the same thing with House of the Dragons. It's fire and blood, but a part of that book, it's not even the whole book. Only a section of that book deals with the Civil War, the Dance of the Dragon. So you got 200 to 300 pages about this whole series. So they're taking the major events but filling in the gaps, and they're doing it beautifully with House of the Dragon. Same thing with Rings of Powers, where they have to take big events and fill in the gaps, and they've not even built up to any of the major events. Like the whole first season is just nothing.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you do have
Yeah.
a major event in the finale event, but literally it kind of even comes out of left field. It's like we're supposed to be building to this, but we're not really going to talk about it until the very end when it has to happen.
Well, and the only reason that was even a big event was because 4 or 5 episodes in, they were like, no, you're going to find out who Sauron is at the end of the series.
Yes.
Or at the end of the season.
Well,
And
not
that
only
was
that,
just because they knew people weren't watching it. It was like,
Exactly.
we need you to watch it.
we have to entice you
we
to
have
tune
we
in.
have to
And it was a terrible
advertise.
reveal. The forming of the 3 rings, again, spoilers, we said. No, not Siri. I don't understand either. You're
Yeah.
right. I don't understand. But even the forming of the rings, I hated the connection to the Silmarils they gave it with the Mithril. And the rings of themselves are significant on their own. You don't have to tie them to, like, the Silmarils had their story in the First Age. They're done with. They're out of the way. The rings are something else that are extremely significant. And it's almost like they wanted to give it even more significance and show, see, we know Tolkien. Look how
Yeah,
we're going
we're
to
gonna
tie
it
this
in with-
And
yeah.
I'm like, but it's dumb. Like,
Well,
it
and even
shouldn't
I
be
think
a
I
thing.
brought this up too with so many of the tie-ins that Rings of Power uses, again, reference the Jackson films.
Yeah.
They don't reference the source material.
The Balrog that they show
Exactly.
set up looked just like Jackson's Balrog.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh,
and
absolutely it was.
Because that's all they have to know on,
Yeah.
to go on, because they didn't actually read the material, or even if they did, they glossed over it and they went back to, well, fans are really going to remember the Jackson films, so we're going to go back to those three, and that's where all the people are going to get psyched and hyped up. And it's like, no, we got hyped because of Jackson's versions going so closely tied to the original source material. And I've not even read the books.
Yeah.
But I've talked to you who read the books.
I mean, and
my brother-in-law,
there are
my
changes,
sister.
no doubt.
There's
There are
definitely
changes.
changes, but every single one of the changes that I've
They're still
heard,
faithful to the themes of the book. Yes.
absolutely. And when you go and watch Charlie Rose, who interviewed Jackson back when the movies were coming out, and he specifically says, we didn't want to interject any of our own politics or our own viewpoints into Lord of the Rings. We wanted to stay faithful
Yes.
to Tolkien. And that, you can tell, is completely glossed over and completely ignored when it comes to Rings
Well,
of
you
Power.
know how they
Yeah.
show people because they throw in random stuff out of context that only people that have read the books would know, but like the whole well, the sun started as something the size of that could fit in the palm of your hand. It's like, okay, that's true to the mythology, but you don't explain that, so then people
We
are watching
talked
like,
about-
what the hell are you talking
they
about?
never
the sun?
they never really they never really go full in and say that the stranger is Gandalf or anything like that, but he quotes Gandalf.
Well, that was
so
dumb
it's like,
too.
yeah,
You
I'm
have
just
a
like,
scene
you
in-
want us to believe that's him, so you make him say the same thing.
Yeah.
When in doubt, follow your nose. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it made sense when they were in the mines of Moria and he gets a whiff of fresh air. When they're just randomly.
and it was a quip.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like a witty
Yeah.
joke.
Yes,
That's
and
all
it's
it was.
just- But yeah, in this,
they
when
try
he's
to
just
make it like,
it's
oh,
like,
this is a line.
see what we did there?
Yeah.
yeah, it's like,
No.
look, see, he's Gandalf, and it's like, yay, good
And
job, guys.
not only that, but like we talked about with
Sounds
Black
like the Fruit
Adam.
Loops guy. Follow your nose.
Is that Toucan Sam?
Yes,
Yeah.
Toucan Sam.
I love how he
Ian McKellen is a
magically
Fruit Loop.
learned how to speak
I know.
English too.
I hated that
like,
too.
Within one episode,
Yep.
he learned how to speak an
Yeah.
entire language.
But it's funny that Black Adam we criticize for bad writing.
Mm-hmm.
No, watch Rings of Power. Awful writing. And
Great writing.
And
House
it's
of the
funny
Dragon.
because you see again the discrepancy in the critical versus the audience score.
Mm-hmm.
And critical, it says certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes on as soon as you turn on Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
which everybody knows is above.
You can't
this
even
joke.
trust Amazon's ratings because the woman in charge of
Yeah.
Amazon even admitted that they didn't allow critic reviews that
That they didn't like.
That didn't-
Only for 2 days.
Yeah. Still, the fact that they're saying, well, anything that
Just for 2 days.
didn't go along with what I forget how she phrased it. Basically, in so many words, she said, if it bashed our show, we just didn't allow it. She didn't say
Pretty
that,
much.
but that's pretty much what it amounted
Essentially,
to.
that's what she said. But it's interesting because with that in mind, I still think it's funny how it's like you all can try to sugarcoat this all you want. It's still a turd. And the fact is nobody's talking about it. Nobody's rewatching it. Nobody's recommending it.
Yep.
It's completely void. It is all of the conversations that I saw were trashing it the day after an episode released on Twitter or on Instagram.
The
or
memes have always
Yeah, the
all
memes
social
are
media.
great.
The memes are hilarious. That shows you they're making fun of it. But then almost an immediate day or two after, the only thing I saw in a social media thread were advertisements for it. That was it.
All the conversations are about
I
House
can't
of the Dragon.
drive down the
Right.
street without seeing an advertisement
Damn
for it 'cause
Amazon
it's on the
Prime
back
truck.
of every
Oh,
truck.
yeah, I showed you. I took a screenshot. Thank God it's gone with the update of Photoshop. Photoshop launched, and the watermark screen that comes
Oh,
up.
yeah.
and
Yeah, the
showed
splash screen, yeah.
Gladriel.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, are
That's
you
crazy.
They
That's how much they
spent
spend
more
on
money on this
marketing.
marketing than actually making sure that the actual
Yeah.
show was good.
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
awful.
Well, I laugh every time I see because my neighbors get packages from Amazon pretty frequently. Like the three
Every time you see her on the side of a
there's
truck.
3 of them around me that I see at least weekly at a truck. So every time I see an Amazon truck, I laugh because I'm just like, you guys suck.
Yeah.
And the
Because
fact
it is. You're right. It's right there
It's,
on the side of the
it's
truck,
on
yeah.
every truck. And I live down the street from the warehouse.
Yeah.
So I
Oh, so
see,
you see a
hundreds
fleet
of
of trucks.
every day.
That's a nightmare.
It's
Just a fleet of
terrible.
rings
Every
of
one of them.
power.
A fleet of
Yeah.
Gladriels. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. I buy these switched over to these silicone wedding rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my other one keeps getting caught on stuff and it's
Yeah.
like my fingers got fat over 15 years and it doesn't fit. So I started buying these things, and Amazon has a deal with Groove, the Groove ring, and they have silicone rings of power. So So when you go to the Groove Ring, they have a whole series of the Rings of Power, and they have like the Elvish writing and stuff
I
in
didn't
them.
even think they looked
Yeah.
as good as the because they
No,
show at
they didn't.
the prologue of Lord of the Rings, like it shows the elves and the three rings, and these look like cheap
They did.
jewelry.
Trinkets.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah.
look like Cracker
I was
Jack
like,
boxes.
what is
Freaking
this?
whistles.
And I mean, granted, the three rings do have jewels on them,
Well,
but the jewels just look like I was like, this looks
Something
so
I don't
fake.
understand, and it didn't really even need to be explained in the introduction or the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring when they go into the Rings of Power and the One Ring, and all I need to hear is that he poured in his malice and all that, and that's what makes it. But they never really
'cause he's
even.
powerful,
But I'm
yeah.
just saying, they
Right.
never explain what makes them powerful. All you did was you took a material that's this mithril and this great material, and you
Well, I
made
think
these
that's
rings
why
out
they
of it.
try
And I'm
to
like,
tie it to the
but what did
Silmarils,
you put
too.
into it to make it?
Yeah.
To make them any different than
All
just
powerful
jewelry?
and- yeah.
That's
Well,
what I'm saying. Like,
the
where's the
Silmaril
power?
is the power. But I
But
think
they
why
didn't.
they did that.
They
but
didn't
yeah.
explain that.
Right.
Like I don't.
But granted, that's made up anyways. But yeah, it was just
Well,
bad.
but
Well, because
so-
that's why they
so
needed a
much
ring
of
shape
that-
so that the power could cycle in on it.
I don't know.
When she was explaining that,
Oh,
or he was
God.
explaining it, I was like, this
Such
is stupid.
bullshit.
Yeah.
It
I was like, y'all are just
bullshit.
pulling crap out of your butt. We've not talked about House of the Dragon at all. We've just been bashing Rings of Power.
It's sad, but that's but
House
we-
of the Dragon is good.
It is.
You,
It
you
is.
should go
Enough
and
said.
watch.
It is well
The whole
fleshed out.
first season
Yeah.
is available on HBO Max.
I don't want to spoil any of it for anybody who
That's
hasn't
true. I
seen
really
it.
don't want to spoil it. It's well fleshed out. It's well done. If you're a fan
Look,
of Game of Thrones or
I'll
Fire
put it
and
this
Blood,
way: when you can make a scene of a guy walking down a hallway, emotional and epic, and literally
I told
that's
Sean.
all he
You know,
does.
the courtroom when King Varys.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite moments of the season so far.
And when you can do that, that's how you know you have dramatic and grand storytelling of an
Because
nth degree.
you had great writing, you built the characters, so that moment without even a single word,
I
because
thought,
you know
I thought
and love
the last.
characters.
I thought the very last, like 6 seconds of the
the
finale,
la- Oh, yeah. Same,
had
same.
more depth. It didn't even need to speak at all.
Nope.
The look on the dude's face of what just happened.
As soon as you see Matt
Yeah.
Smith's character, that's all I'll say. You see him come on screen, you already know what's going to happen.
Well, even before that, he was
You
talking
know.
about Eamon's look after the event happens when
Oh,
he looks
yes.
like
Yeah.
when he
looks-
realizes
when he looks
he
a
just
little
started a
terrified
war.
because he realized, oh
Yeah.
crap,
This
like,
just happened.
And I
Yeah.
love that
Yep.
because like so many moments where they don't have to say a word and they don't need to because the acting does it all. Yeah,
The scene where I forget it was right after and I'm forgetting Matt Smith's character name. Damon.
Damon, yeah.
When
Yeah.
Damon's wife, they have the funeral. The scene of the funeral. And then all they're doing the entire time is they show you all the heads of state just looking, and they all have whether they're looking of disgust, they're looking because they're bored, they're looking because
Well, even
what's my
what-
next move?
what the funeral
You can
turns into?
Yes.
when the Kingsguard shows up, I even loved that. Like you went from this sad moment to this moment of power, and I was just like, it all transitions so well. It's well written. It
The
feels
fight
realistic.
scene between the kids was more epic than anything
Yeah.
in Rings of Power.
That's true.
And it was literally 5 minutes on screen, and
these
it had
kids
more
fighting, yeah.
tension
Yeah.
than any of all of
Kids
Rings of
beating the
Power.
piss out of each other. Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was great.
I'm
so
really
good.
excited to see like the full on war now that it's
That's what I'm
coming.
saying.
It's
Just that's what they did when they were kids.
Yeah.
Think what they're going to do now.
Well, heck, we've already seen a
and here's
little
the
bit
thing.
of what's
I know.
happening.
I was
know.
a little skeptical because some of what I saw after the finale aired was that some of the showrunners were talking about how it's going to really pick up in season 2. And it's funny because I'm like, I don't think they were saying it as like, they've heard criticism of people talking about the
No,
first
it's
season too
just-
slow. They're just like, now
war's
war is
coming,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because I'm in the boat of that's great, all is well. But truthfully, this season was so good at setting the tension that I'm like, even if you want to slow it down, I'm cool with just thrusting us right into war. Let's see some dragons fighting. Holy
yeah,
crap, let's
yeah.
go. But also the slow moments have just been so great.
It's one of those things where when they say it's going to pick up, like because I've read Fire and Blood and like it's some of the things you think are shocking and just that's what I love about Game of Thrones universe in total. What you think is shocking right now in season 1 pales in comparison to some of the events that are going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just the good nature of storytelling, but a
Yes.
slow burn. A slow burn. Breaking Bad did this so brilliantly. To see Walter White go from where he is in season 1 to season, if I told it to you in person, you'd think that's ridiculous. That's
But the
goofy.
character
But when
development,
you
yes.
see it
Yeah.
happen on screen and play out, it's so believable and so well done that you're like, wow, this is awesome. It's amazing. And House of the Dragon, no doubt, it nails that.
Well, we know which show we like better. They're both going to be about 2 years before we see them again. I know which one I'll be checking.
Unfortunately.
Well, more of a year and a half.
Rumor mill, real quick.
Uh-huh.
We know House of the Dragon's coming. We know it's staying on the same trajectory. Do you think they're going to clean house and completely scrap pretty much this whole season Rings of Power and start from scratch?
Oh, I don't think they'll basically reboot it.
Yeah, I don't think
And when I say reboot, I don't mean get new characters, but I mean completely go for a different look, different feel, different
I think
story beats.
The story will continue on from where it's at now.
that's
because
gonna be hard to do,
I don't think
though.
they're going to completely ignore it, but I do think that they're going to try to change the tone and acting and writing. I hope. But
they're not going to change the world in the way it looks. He's talking about
No. I think they'll keep that.
Okay.
Because again, that's been the only
Maybe
thing.
a little bit better-
production value was the only thing it had going for it.
Maybe a little bit better in the production value on the costume.
They're still going to
they
ride
could use some
Jackson's
non-plastic
coattails
armor.
on.
Yeah.
That
That
that's
armor,
pretty bad.
they look like man boobs.
Yeah.
Every single one of the dudes' armors looked like boobs. It was terrible.
We'll see. I do think coming back, it's going to have a little bit of a different tone because they have to. House of the Dragon's fine. I think we'll see it maybe a little bit earlier in 2024 because they're starting filming summer of 2023. Or not starting filming. I think they'll be filming
but
around
we
that,
heard
so.
after the terrible nature of how bad season 1 did that they wanted to fast track season 2. I think to course correct.
Well, that's Rings of Power. Like,
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, talking about
House of the Dragon is going to be filming over the summer next year, so I don't think it'll be the end of because Game of Thrones always aired towards the beginning. They aired in April into the summer.
I thought it was the opposite.
No.
Maybe they will. Maybe it'll come in early 2024.
That's what I'm hoping because they're filming beginning of next year into the summer that maybe we'll get it early 24, so it's not a full 2-year time gap. Now for Rings of Power, they're probably going to need as much time as possible to fix that mess. So I have no idea.
And do you think they're going to run concurrently with House of the Dragon again?
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually offset it and don't try to compete because they got trounced so horribly this year.
Yep.
Like they do contribute, like House of the Dragon being so good to also, it's not their fault. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I have to see a trailer, okay? But I am still in the camp of I do not care about Rings of Power. I will not watch anymore.
I'll check it out when they come back.
When a trailer drops, and if they showcase to me that they learned their lesson, they've putting out all the woke shit that they tried to push.
The problem is the trailer for Rings of Power. I thought.
No. As soon as I saw the full-fledged trailer drop, where it had all the diverse characters that they were pushing to the forefront, I knew it was going to be crap.
Yeah.
And go back and listen to this episode.
I didn't mind the diversity part. But it
was the way they handled it. They made sure that was pushed to the forefront. That was something, a precedent they were setting.
Show it
and
off,
it's like that's the problem. We didn't need 6 interracial couples, but you had to make every damn freaking race of human.
Every single couple.
Every single one had an interracial couple, and it's like, why are we doing this?
I'm kind of hoping they come back and kill off the characters that just are like nonsense, like Arendelle or Aaron, whatever his name is, Black Elf.
But that's the problem. I don't care about any of them.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
none of them.
You got to keep Galadriel and Elrond, but I mean,
Gandalf.
hopefully give them better characterization.
Hell, they killed off Isildur.
Yeah,
or we think
they didn't. But
So
obviously, I
stupid.
hate the whole mystery box thing. It's like obviously we know he's not dead. I mean, he's got to cut off Sauron's
Well, it's
hand.
not just that. It was the mystery they were trying to form around who is going to be Sauron.
Well, everything was a
like,
damn mystery box in this show. That's all they could do.
They tried to make you think the stranger was going to be him, and then it's like, oh no, you're one of the other ones.
Right.
And it's, what?
And that was
what are the other ones?
Right. And that was the
talking about?
problem. Every single time you looked for an answer, they were like, no, we're going to string you
Sorry.
along.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, this doesn't need to be a mystery.
No.
Stop.
No.
Just tell me a damn story that's good. Give me some characters I care about. I didn't care about anybody.
You think about the Lord of the Rings. We already know the story.
Yeah.
There's a book. If you've read the books, you know the story.
Well, that's my point.
Just show us the story on film.
It's like
I don't need you to drag me along. Yeah.
It's dumb to fake kill Isildur when everybody knows
He
at the
can't
beginning.
die.
He can't die,
at the
yeah.
beginning of Lord of the Rings, he cuts
Well,
off Sauron's hand. Yeah,
Just
it's dumb.
the volcano scene. It was like
Terrible.
oh, she can't be dead.
Nope.
They can't. Half of them can't be dead because
Right.
they show up later.
And it's like,
What
just,
are you doing?
just the idea of a damn water starting a volcano and just that sword being a key. It was so terrible.
Yeah.
All right. We're done.
But
The first seasons are done.
there
They're
is
out of the way.
there is the Jon Snow is in pre-production or pre. It's
the Jon Snow
Kit
spin-off.
Snow.
Is Kit coming
Yeah, he's
back?
already Kit Harington's already signed on.
yes.
They're not saying that for sure. That it's not guaranteed that it's going to be a thing, but they are starting pre-production. It could very easily just be like, oh, this isn't going to work.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they've had several spin-offs in the works, and they weeded out the ones that weren't good with the ones that are good. Because there was another one, I think, that was about Robert's Rebellion, I think.
Okay.
And there's one that a really big actress was a part of. I want to say like Naomi Watts or something, but I could be wrong about that. I have to double check. But there were a few that were in the works that they just
I
said
heard that too, yeah.
they said that hers wasn't that it was bad. They just didn't feel like it was
Pertinent or
they felt it wasn't up to the standard they want. So they're like it's
Good.
They said it was a decent show, but it didn't hit the notes we thought it should, like House of the Dragon. So they kept House of the Dragon and scrapped that one.
Yeah, they did. They canceled the prequel with Naomi Watts.
So they said with the Kit Harington one, they are going ahead into pre-production yet, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee it'll come to fruition.
I'm okay with that.
They're gonna
Again,
develop it, and if it doesn't
this is
meet
what
standards,
happens when
then
it's
it'll be
seasoned.
scrapped.
And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but so far HBO Max, which they've been in this game for a long
They're
time,
making sure they have a great product first.
That's
I wish
right.
they would get things in order to where we don't have to wait 2 years. We get
I agree.
Snow,
I'd almost
and then we get House of Dragon season 2.
Off and on would be nice.
Like off back and forth, so that there's something
that would be awesome.
that
cool.
would be sick.
Yeah, because then you're always. I mean, and honestly, a year waiting in between each is not too much.
No.
It's only when you have Marvel where it's like, oh, it's in January you've got this, then in April you got
Well,
this,
Marvel, you got
then in July
12
Yeah.
releases a year now if you
Right.
include
Yeah.
like the freaking Disney Plus stuff. But yeah, it's streaming services are more and more going to a longer gap between Stranger Things, The Boys, now House of the Dragons. It's
Which
like so
it's,
many.
Okay, it's like even
But they're
like,
good.
They are good.
The seasons
They
are good,
Well,
though.
and I think of it with video games. When you talk about these robust worlds and huge, expansive games, you're talking about things that are going to take a while to develop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason. Granted, Grand Theft Auto is ridiculous. Stop playing GTA 5 if you want
Elder
GTA
Scrolls.
6.
That's honestly the problem.
Elder Scrolls 6.
People
but we do know that video games, especially since even the PS4 era and
They take a
onward,
long time
they're
to develop.
taking more than 2 to 3 years. So now they're taking 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And granted, I don't think you necessarily have to have that for some smaller games. But hell, it's like even God of War. I'm looking forward to that coming out on the 9th, and it's been I think 4 years in development. 2018 was the last the God of War the reboot, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it's like again, I get it because when you talk about better hardware, more finessing over quality and content, and that's the way I think streaming is with
And
shows.
with the shows, if you deliver a quality product,
When the production
too,
value is as high as it is, where you're telling a feature-length film every single week,
most fans don't mind the wait as long as you deliver. Like,
Pay
here's
it
the thing:
off.
we're willing to wait for House of the Dragon because we know it's going to be good. We're not willing to wait 2 years
Well-
for Rings of Power because
and final point, it's like, yes, we're going to complain and bicker because we want it now, but don't listen to us. We want it now because we're fans and we love it.
Yeah.
But we want it done
it'll
right.
be worth the wait when
Yeah.
it's done right and we see it and we're excited again because it's coming.
Yeah.
And we'll be just as happy.
When Game of Thrones was on and I was watching it every week as it came out, it was like at the end of every season, it was amazing and it was also sad because now I've got to wait another 9 or 10 months before this next
I was
season comes out.
somewhat lucky. I didn't start watching Game of Thrones until
Same.
Until
well,
it was
no,
streaming?
No, well,
I mean, until
That's
you could
how
watch
I
a
was.
season.
I started after season 6 ended, so I only had to wait for 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I mean, I still had to wait for
I
the last
watched
2 seasons, but I did
every one of them
Yeah.
as they came out.
and I got to watch it all after it was out.
And I'm on season 3, episode 9 right now, watching it the
Rewatching.
second time through.
Yeah.
Hey, I will say
So-
I was one of the lucky ones that got to hear all the griping of how bad it was, that I got to enjoy it for what it was and say, well, I didn't read the
I'm
books,
actually-
and I actually was okay with
I'm
it.
planning on
the books
rewatching it as well now that HBO Max has it in 4K
Yes,
HDR.
it's beautiful.
So I'm like,
All
It's
right,
beautiful.
now I got to go back and watch it.
Game
I
of
just watched it
Thrones.
for the first time last year.
yeah,
no
but now
black-
you got to watch it
No
4K
black bars
HDR.
either. I love it. It takes up the whole screen. No
Nice.
black bars.
Man,
It's,
I'm
it's
gonna-
awesome.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Right there at the bottom of your screen, email rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. My next big one is The Witcher. I'm going to watch that
I like The Witcher.
before the season 3
Season
comes
3.
out.
Yeah, well,
And that comes out
it's-
next year, season in June or July.
No.
Or is it April or May or something?
I thought that comes out.
No, it does not come out
It
in
doesn't
December.
come out this year.
It doesn't
yeah,
drop
yeah.
this.
The Witcher's
the
another
last
one that's
two
not
did,
an every
but-
year
right.
type thing. I think you're right. It's not coming out till next year.
I forget what they said. They posted the dates just recently
I
because
do
they
like
had the
The
teaser.
Witcher.
But
Not as
also,
much as Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, but it's good.
so I'm gonna watch it just because I'll have enough time before the 3rd season. Right there at the bottom of your screen, all of our social, like, share, subscribe, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, and Red Moon Picks.
Yeah.
Also search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Our page should pop up. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the support. We want to thank all of our listeners and viewers out there. Thank y'all so much for tuning in every single week right here at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
I want to stretch this out.
one more minute. We don't have that much time.
We can stretch it out.
It's gone.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.